Alright, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Sunmo Gaming. So, nearly a year ago, he did One Piece in 140 minutes, which was up before the time skip. Well, yeah, into it. Now we've got One Piece in 82 minutes, which is covering the time skip. I think this is going just before Wano. I'm not 100% sure. I've not watched it yet. But I like these. These serve as a nice, funny recap. And I'm sorry if I'm a little bit out of breath and my face is bright red. I haven't ran for like 4 months and then decided to just go do a 10k just now. So, yeah. So, this will be fun. I love some of those anime minute videos. Let's get into it. I love the the Photoshop arm and that looks close.
Wait, what?
Let's
Why am I
go.
doing this again? Let's just continue where we left off. We
Alright.
now finally have the Straw Hats all reunited at Sabaudi Archipelago, now heading to their next destination, Fishman Island. And as the Straw Hats are leisurely making their way towards it, here's when they get into a little bit of a dilemma. Getting absolutely rolled by this one current on their way in, splitting up the crew in the process. On which we now have Luffy's group, consisting of Chopper, Sanji, and Usopp, waking up in Fishman Island after being saved by some mermaids. And oh wow, they reunite with Cammy. And after catching up with them, they then head out to explore a bit, heading to a higher level of the island where they meet up with some other mermaids and discussing about Jinbei's whereabouts. However, in the midst of this conversation, they are then approached by the Neptune family's princes, who are a part of the Fishman Island's royal family, if that wasn't obvious. And they're out here looking for the Straw Hats, who have trespassed this land. And with Sanji splooshing over here due to an opie overdose, their cover is quickly blown, and Chopper says that Sanji is in need of a blood donor, or else he'll die, because apparently that nosebleed was just too strong. And so, with Cammy coming in clutch, she pulls up with an escape vehicle, allowing them to all get away, where we soon learn that it's forbidden for fishmen to donate blood to humans.
Yes, I'm remembering now. Oh yeah, and the whole the guy. He'll come
But by
to
some
me.
miracle, Sanji still finds a way to get a blood donor, or blood donors, and oh wow, he's still alive. And so with Sanji recovering, Chopper decides to stay back with him, as Luffy, Cammy, and Usopp head out following their little chat with Cammy's boss, Charlie, who happens to be a fortune teller.
Yeah, she can see the future, can't she? Oh, this is so cool. This is really cool recap.
Which shortly after them leaving, Charlie then foresees the future, with Luffy destroying Fishman Island and letting the whole town know. And so moving forward, as Luffy's group is having a nice walk around Coral Hill, this is when they reunite with Papeg, Brook, and Nami, where they are then approached by the king himself, Neptune, inviting the Straw Hats to his palace, which Luffy says, fuck it, let's go. And so upon their arrival at the palace, they find the palace looking rather fancy like, palace. Which shortly after entering it, this is when Luffy gets distracted by the scent of food on some Tom and Jerry shit, leading him into this one room containing the mermaid princess, Hirohoshi. And upon coming in contact with her, we then learn about this one fella named Decken, who is obsessed with marrying her, just sending non-stop projectiles at her on some yandere shit. But yeah, this dude has the Mark Devil Fruit, which practically gives him aimbot at any range. And with Luffy
Oh yeah.
defending Shirahoshi from these attacks, this instantly gains the trust of her, which she then brings up how she wishes to see the outside world and see the sea forest, as she's been locked in this palace for 10 long years due to Deccan's relentless attacks. And Luffy is like, alright mate, let's go. Confident that
Alright, mate, let's go. Love
be
that.
able to block everything coming their way. And so moving forward, we now got Decken down bad, meeting up with the new Fishman pirates, led by none other than the pirate himself, Hody, who apparently has mutual interest in overthrowing Neptune and decimating the Ryukyu kingdom. And so
One of the most uninteresting villains, I think. But, you know, did his job.
upon talking a little, flirting with each other, they then form an alliance, which we then cut back to the palace, where we then get word from the Minister of the Left about some mermaids getting kidnapped, as well as Charlie's fortune of Luffy destroying the entirety of Fishman Island, leading to the Minister of the Left accusing the Straw Hats and setting out his guards to arrest anyone associated with it. And by the way, the one responsible for the mermaid kidnappings is this one dude named Karibu, who has this freaky ass tongue. But
Yeah, he snuck on the boat with them, didn't he? In one of the barrels. Yes.
anyways, with the guards now targeting them, and even Neptune, they of course gotta defend from themselves, where we soon have to have Zoro, who was captured by the Neptune army, escaping from his prison to join his Nakama in this fight, leaving them
Let's
with
go.
no other option but to restrain Neptune and his men, like the weak little pussies that they are.
Take
Soon
that.
after, this is when the Neptune princes arrive at the entrance, requesting that they allow them entry into the palace. However, Zoro intercepts this call, negotiating a deal with them, saying that if they find and gather all of his crewmates, as well as coating their cruise ship so that they can dip, he'll allow Neptune and his men, who are being held hostage, to go free unharmed. And with agreeing to these terms, Fukahoshi then brings up 2 messages left behind by Jinbei to Luffy, which is to not fight Hody and that he will be waiting for him at the sea forest. Upon delivering this, the Neptune princes then make their way to fulfill their end of the bargain. And so moving forward, we now got Luffy and Shirahoshi making their way to
yeah,
the
she
sea
hides
forest and leaving the
inside the
palace thanks
fish.
to the
Oh
help
my
of a
God.
pet shark Megalo. And as they're making their way there, they happen to encounter Sanji, Chopper, and Hachan, casually picking them up along the way before making it to their final destination, where they meet up with Frankie at the Sunny and Jinbei after all of these years.
Jinbei!
Shortly after, we then have Nami and Cammy also arriving with some terrible news about what happened at the palace, which it seems is now being raided by Hody and the new Fishman pirates, with Hody's ultimate goal being to revive Arlong's dream, which I guess is just building a kingdom that is racist against humans. And whatever happened to Arlong? Where has bro been? But anyways, upon giving this whole explanation about Arlong's biggest dick rider, here's when Jinbei takes a moment to apologize to the Straw Hats for allowing Arlong to go on a rampage in the East Blue, as he was the one responsible for freeing him in the first place.
I think this is one of the series that was more interesting with the flashbacks and reveals of what happened in the past than what actually happened in the present.
From Impel Down, which has Nami like, oh, so you were the source of my PTSD, huh? Demanding that he elaborates, which has him going over the whole entire lore of Fishman Island and how it was once taken over by humans. But one day, the legend himself, with that one legendary quote, Whitebeard, came around saving them. However, for some reason, that didn't really do much for the dynamic between humans and fishmen, as they all still hated each other in the end. But this is when we have two important people risen to power, advocating for the coexistence of humans and fishmen, which the first person we got here is Queen Otahime, the wife of King Neptune, who is out here farming petition signatures, even managing to get a signature by the world nobles. However, it seems her efforts were all for nothing, with someone just wanting to create a bonfire with these papers to roast some marshmallows, and on top of that, even hitting a trick shot on Otahime, killing her as a result. Where we soon after learn by Hody that it was indeed a human that did the act, exposing him to the world. Which following that, this then brings us to our second person seeking peace between the fishmen and the humans, Fisher Tiger.
That's the one, that's who I was thinking of. What a dude.
Which upon hearing the news about him freeing the slaves at Mary-Joie, this has Jinbei like, you know what, let me just instantly resign from the Neptune army and join him and his crew, the Sun Pirates, who in turn brought him together with pirates like Arlong. And following 3 years together sailing the seas, this is when they end up meeting this one girl named Koala. What the fuck? On this one island, she happens to be an escapee from Mary-Joie, and are told by the people here if they can assist in taking her to her hometown, which is rather far. And with Tiger being a nice guy, he then decides to take her all the way across the sea back to her mother, where he ends up getting ambushed by some Marines. And as he's getting ambushed, everyone back at the ship gets ambushed, and something tells me this was an ambush. But with Jinbei clutching up, he manages to save Tiger, bringing him to a hijacked Marine ship with the rest of his crew. And it seems Tiger is in need of a blood transplant. However, the only one available on the ship is that of a filthy human, just utterly revolting. And so with it being human blood, Tiger refuses to accept it, revealing that he was once captured and spent several years at Mary-Joie as a slave, and saw the worst of humanity. But despite all that, he still sees the world where fishmen and humans can reside.
Live together.
Like, why not just accept the blood, huh? So giving his last wishes to his crew to never kill humans, he then dies. Rest in
I'm loving the Naruto music. Rest in peace!
peace. But Arlong is like, nah, fuck that. I'ma kill more of those bitches. Heading back to the Marines at Koala's village and gets overwhelmed and arrested like a fucking idiot. And so following these events, this is when Jinbei gets invited to become one of these 7 warlords, with high hopes and positively impacting the relationship between humans and fishmen, also gaining close connections to the world government. We also got him doing this one thing that absolutely ruined Nami's life, and that is freeing this guy right here, telling him, yo, you can't kill these humans anymore, okay? And to be honest, I think he got it. And so following this whole entire story, Jinbei is like, so you forgive me now? And Nami's like, yeah, we're good.
Okay,
oh god, who cut the onions? But anyways, following story time, here's when Hody decides to make a move, announcing to everyone on Fishman Island that he is their new ruler and that he will be doing a public execution of Neptune at the plaza, also stating that he'll eliminate all the Straw Hats to serve as an example to all humans on the surface. And out of this whole speech, Luffy's like, oh, damn, my bounty's really 400 million now? But then following that, he's like, alright, let's handle business now and handle that goofy-ass nose Hody. But with Jinbei hearing this, he prevents him from doing so, explaining that if he did this, that would just look bad for humans, and violence is very bad. And so after fighting for a bit, Jinbei and Shirahoshi head out, with Luffy nowhere to be found, and I wonder where he went. But on their way to the plaza, they end up getting captured by the new Fishman pirates, and it seems it's their time to get executed, alongside Neptune and his sons, which we then got Hody over here going on a rant, revealing his 10-year plan to conquer this island, revealing that he was the one who shot and killed Shirahoshi's mother, and Shirahoshi is over here like, I knew that shit all along! But apparently she didn't say anything to not stir up any drama, as that is what her mother would wish for. This is when Hody is,
oh, everyone's so nice in Fishman Island, apart from these people that weren't there, but they're there now and they're mean. He's missed the pills that they take as well. They take pills to become stronger.
like, well, I guess it's time to start the execution, bringing them Blaze closer to Neptune, which has Shirahoshi screaming over here for our main character to pull up in shonen fashion, and oh wow, he pops out of Megalo's mouth, landing a juicy kick on our antagonist, which was rather brutal. And apparently this was a whole rescue plan, orchestrated none other than the man himself, Jinbei, to have Luffy viewed as a hero, rather than one of those violent humans that the fishmen always envisioned. And just as this happens, this is when we have all the other Straw Hats arriving to the scene, taking on the new Fishman pirate minions, seconds as Luffy goes on ahead to take on the final boss. Meanwhile, at Dekken's POV, here's when he decides to get a little silly, launching this one massive ship called the Noah towards
Oh my
Shiroshi,
gosh,
with the
yeah, he
intention
launches the whole freaking ship, doesn't he?
to destroy her and Fishman Island, because he's just sick and tired of getting rejected, man. And so as everyone is fighting on this fine battlefield, this is when the ship approaches them, seemingly gonna crush everyone. And this is when Dekken tells Shiroshi that the ship is targeted towards her, and he did this all out of love, of course.
Of course.
To prevent everyone from getting crushed, Shiroshi then leads the Noah into another direction, which has Luffy decide to follow her and protect her, getting a nice little boosto up to the Noah. And with noticing that Dekken is going against his plans, this is when Hody decides to make his way up to the Noah to show him who's boss, getting him out of the way real quick. And with him losing consciousness, this apparently releases his devil fruit influence on the Noah, having it fall straight down towards Fishman Island.
Well done, you idiot.
Oh no, what are we ever gonna do? Well, forget about that, because we have other matters to attend to, which is the silly little goofball Hody. And so with Luffy coming face to face with him, he then pulls out this new sick move out of his ass called the Gum Gum no Red Hoku,
Let's
or I'm sorry,
go.
the Gum Gum Red Hawk for those non-weebs. Inspired by his brother Ace, who was turned into a donut way back when, and this attack
Turned into
seemingly
a
does a lot of
donut, oh my
damage.
God.
However, Hody's like, fuck it, I love drugs, let me consume more of these roids, buffing himself up quite a bit, but it seems it was all pointless, with Luffy simply clapping him right here, and it seems everything's all good now. And oh yeah, the Noah, is everyone gonna handle that? But don't worry, we got Luffy over here pulling up, trying to break it down with his fist before he makes impact with the surface. However, this is when Shirahoshi hops in, telling him to yum it down, because apparently some Sea Kings have arrived to prevent the ship from falling, because apparently
Woohoo, this is
Shirahoshi
cool.
has this legendary ancient weapon, Poseidon, which allows you to freely order these creatures around. And with that, Luffy is like, oh, my bad, before passing out, and it seems Fishman Island is all saved now.
But he was also able to hear them talking as well, but no one else was. We're missing some little bits, but it's okay.
And so moving forward, with all the bad guys dealt with here and arrested, as well as all the mermaids that were initially missing / abducted being found, we now cut over back to the palace, and oh wow, all the valuables have been stolen, including the tummy tobacco box, which happens to contain a bomb revealed by the Minister of the Rights. And so with all of that said, we now cut over back to Luffy, who's currently in critical condition following his fight with Hody, and is in desperate need for a blood transfusion. However, all the fishmen and merfolk in
Jinbei!
the area are reluctant on giving blood, as it's very taboo to donate to humans. But this is when the legend himself, Jinbei, steps up, representing the unity
Let's
between
go.
humans and fishmen. Or, maybe just overanalyzing here, who knows. And Nani, he's alive? And so with Luffy making a recovery, he then invites Jinbei to his crew. However, he declines for the time being, due to his reasoning being that he would like to cut off his alliance with the Big Mom Pirates first. And so following that, we then have everyone heading back to the palace to celebrate for a little, on which we then have Robin over here discussing with Neptune about some information that she found on a poneglyph here, mentioning some sort of being called the Joy Boy or some shit. I'm sure that's not all that important, right?
Oh, mate. All the way back then. That's class.
And this is when Jinbei also brings up two big changes that happened in the New World, as the Straws were on the little 2-year training guard, going on about Sengoku's retirement, and how Akainu and Aokiji fought over the title of Fleet Admiral, with Akainu coming on top, grilling Aokiji from the back, forcing him to quit the Marines afterwards. Which, following giving this news, he then follows up with telling them how Blackbeard became one of the 4 warlords, also taking over all of Whitebeard's territories in the process. And yeah, following this, we then have a nice little talk about the treasure being stolen from the palace, on which Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji head out searching for it, easily tracking down Karibu, who has possession of it, which on their
He's
way
got
back
all
to the
the
palace,
gold.
they happen to encounter 2 Big Mom's men, Peckhams and Tamago. We're soon after learning that Big Mom has claimed the Fishman Island territory and taxing them an absurd amount of candy in order for her to hold back from destroying them. This is when Big Mom calls, having Peckhams and Tamago shivering in fear as Luffy picks up like, she ain't shit, telling her that he'll be here milf ass up and reclaim the Fishman Island territory for himself.
Yeah.
Afterwards, this is when Luffy's group returns back to the palace upon giving away the treasure to Peckhams and Tamago to hopefully cover the candy tax for the island, as they were kind of running low on supplies, which apparently within that treasure contained the tummy tobacco box, which I'm sure will serve Zero issues later on, so I don't know why I mentioned it. So yeah, everything seems all wrapped up here, with the Straw Hats now making an enemy out of the Big Mom Pirates, or I mean just Luffy, and this is where we have all of them boarding the Sunny, and as they're heading out, this is when the Minister of the Left gives Nami a new world log pose, which is a log pose capable of recording magnetic fields of 3 different islands at the same time, opposed to 1, allowing them the luxury of choice. And so with that, they then
Which is
set
cool.
sail saying their
Progression,
goodbyes, and Pinky
yay.
promising to Shirahoshi that they'll one day return, which I'm sure that one day will happen. And so with leaving Fishman Island, they now enter the second half of the Grand Line, the New World, with this one volcanic island being their first destination, called Punk Hazard, despite their log posts pointing away from it. And so shortly after their arrival, here's when they receive a distress call from someone on the island saying that they're being attacked by a samurai.
Now, Punk Hazard was really, really interesting, but just kind of lacking. But it wasn't very long, so, you know.
Which Luffy is like, wow, that's...
Caesar wasn't a very He was an alright villain, but, you know, yeah.
It's cool. We should definitely go. And with Zoro, Robin, and Usopp, they then head straight into the action while the others stay back on the ship, in which they soon have to get captured by some men in hazmat suits and end up in a cell on the island. Except Brook, of course, who they thought was dead because Skulls
He's a skeleton.
dead. And during that one distress call, we also got Smoker over
Smoker
here
returns!
and is now setting sail towards Punk Hazard to capture those meddling Straw Hats. And so cutting back to Luffy's squad, they happen to encounter this one dragon, on which Zoro does the honors in clapping it, and this is where they soon after encounter these pair of legs embedded into it, on which upon pulling it out, they find out that it is capable of speech and is looking for a certain warlord. Afterwards, this is when Brook contacts Usopp, updating him about the situation, that Nami, Sanji, Frankie, and Chopper have been captured, and that they've probably been brought to one of the buildings in this one icy biome, which I swear this island is just built like Todoroki. And oh wow, it seems that biome is coincidentally in front of Luffy's group. And so with the help of Usopp spawning his banana boat, they make their way towards it, on which they encounter some hostile Senators. So wait, hold up, let's just cut over to Sanji's group back at their cell, where they too encounter a severed body part, revealing that he's looking for his son Momonosuke, also revealing that he's a samurai from the Wano country. Afterwards, they end up managing to escape their cell, where they soon have to find themselves in this one room called the Biscuits Room, with a bunch of supersized children. And with the guards approaching them, this is when the kids in the room beg Nami to save them from the...
When it's told like this, it's like, wow, there is a lot going on. This is when you speed up how much information you pump out about about this. It's like, what?
Place. And so with Nami being the very considerate individual that she is, she then brings them along in search of an escape route. Which, moving forward, we now cut over to the Marines over here, now arriving on the island upon hearing the distress call, on which they are then greeted by Law, who reveals that he is one of the 7 warlords and got this position by shipping 100 pirate hearts to the world government. And they're like, wow, this dude seems very sane. Let's recruit him.
Well, it's not his intro, but like,
don't give a shit, demanding that he gets into his lab to get the Straw Hats. But Law's like,
no, like, you know what I mean. First time we see Law after the time skip. Yeah.
I don't think I could do that, man. Just absolutely clapping the Marines.
Mate, this is so sick.
Even transferring Smoker into Shige's souls in the process, switching their bodies on some Captain Ginyu shit. And this is also something he does to some of the Straw Hats later on. Which, upon defeating Smoker, Law casually snatches his heart away from him, because why not? And it seems we now cut over back to Luffy's squad, handling the Senators. So they have to struggle quite a bit. But here's when Brook comes in for the save, clapping all of the minions, leaving the largest one remaining, named Brownbeard. Which he's then like, fuck it, I'll switch sides, bringing the Straw Hats towards the building.
Never mind, winning side.
Where they end up encountering Law. And this is where Luffy thanks him for saving him back at Marineford, on which Law follows up and telling him to go around to the back of his lab to meet up with the rest of his crew, on which Luffy goes on ahead to do so, and with doing so, they end up tying up Brownbeard to interrogate him a little bit, where he then goes on explaining his backstory with Caesar and Law, who saved him and his men from dying from poisonous gas, and also gave him the ability to walk again. And bro, what is Goku doing in One Piece? But anyways, as Brownbeard is explaining how great of a ruler Caesar is, who is by the way the ruler of this island, we then have the samurai running away to search for the rest of his body, on which Zoro, Sanji, and Brook head out to search for him. And upon them leaving, this is when the children just go absolutely berserk, screaming and demanding that they want some candy, which upon testing them, Chopper reveals that they've been exposed to some form of an addictive drug and are suffering from withdrawals. And with that said, the Straw Hats then restrain all of them, because what else can you do? And with seeing the state of these children, this then has Luffy, Robin, Frankie, and Usopp heading out to search for Caesar, and which shortly after leaving the cave, they then hear a huge explosion coming from it. And upon their return, they encounter the Yeti Cool brothers, who are apparently working on the Caesar, and they just said, fuck it, let's just kidnap their waifu Nami before retreating. And so with chasing them down, here's when Law appears to help them out, saving Nami in the process, and they're proposing that he forms an alliance with the Straw Hats, going on about how there are 2 ways to survive in the new world, which is to either live under the 4 emperors or go against them. And with Luffy having common interest going up against them and wanting to take down all 4 of the emperors like gym leaders, Law is like, perfect, let's make our first target Kaido, on which Luffy's like, bet, joining the Heart Pirates on their plan to annihilate him, on which Law then goes on explaining the lore of Caesar, because we gotta have a backstory in this bitch, and he goes on about Caesar's background, about him being a former government scientist.
Yeah, we can't just have Caesar show up and be like, meh, I'm the bad guy, mad scientist made of clouds.
And becoming a
gas, made of gas.
4 years ago, acquiring a 300 million berry bounty, on which he then follows up saying, yo, we gotta capture him to go through with this plan. Having Luffy over here like, oh, we got this, easy. And so now cutting back to the cave with the children, we now have Caesar approaching them, popping all the Straws there in the process, and getting the children back to his lab. To think they did all that work for nothing. Which, moving forward, with all the Straws and the Marines on this island, making their way towards the laboratory, this is when Caesar over here is like, let me just release this deadly chemical weapon, Slimy, that initially caused the destruction of Punk Hazard, releasing this one poisonous gas called Shinakuni, which upon exposure turns people into stone statues on some Dr. Stone shit, or I mean Medusa, or I don't know, whatever the fuck. Which luckily all the Straw Hats, excluding Frankie and some Marines, managed to make their way into the laboratory before getting hit by this gas. And oh yeah, somewhere in between, this one samurai manages to find his full body, introducing himself as Kinemon. This is when Law over here is like, alright, let me just recover you guys' body, returning to Shige and Smoker back to their original bodies, after making an agreement with Smoker to obey his orders, and hunt down the this one man named Virgo, who apparently has possession of his heart. Because long story short, Caesar has two close individuals working under him, next to Law being the third, named Monet and Virgo. And in order to acquire the trust of Caesar, Law gave his physical heart to him, because I think a vital organ is enough to gain anyone's trust. However, somewhere in the process, his heart ended up in Virgo's hands. And it's also revealed here that Virgo and Monet are actually working undercover for this one warlord named Doflamingo. And so with now everyone in this laboratory, Law then mentions that there is only one
What a dude and what a backstory.
escape route to escape this island, and that is the R66 gates, which is found in building R of this building. And with given this information, Smoker orders his underlings to rescue the children and head to the R66 gate afterwards, instructing that Tashigi takes command, on which he then heads out with Luffy and Law to handle business. And so moving forward, we now got Luffy and Smoker making their way towards Caesar's room, where Luffy just gets straight into the action with zero dialogue. And with Virgo not being in this one room, Smoker then goes elsewhere, leaving us with nothing but a crazy and intense fight between Luffy and Caesar, having Caesar over here just struggling because he just can't beat the main character. And so he then has Monet substituting in, allowing him to escape, which as the fight progresses, here's when the floor just crumbles beneath them, causing Luffy to fall straight down into a room filled with garbage, which something tells me this is a garbage room, on which we then cut over to Law over here, who happens to arrive at the gate to building D, containing this one thing called SAD, aka SAD, the very thing I felt scripting the entirety of One Piece. And with him coming in contact with this room, this is when Virgo over here figures out what he's trying to do, contacting Doflamingo about it before the big confrontation. And man, it just seems Law just gets absolutely rolled here. And just as it seems like he's about to get finished off, in shonen fashion, Smoker pulls up, coming in for the save, and upon having a very intense fight, like, oh my god, I'm clenching my cheeks so fucking hard here. We got Smoker getting clubbed in the end. However, it seems Law manages to get his heart back thanks to him, allowing him to simply slash Virgo into two, along with the entire goddamn sad room.
So sick.
What the fuck? This man even pieced up some of the island, which then following that, Law then proceeds to cut every one of Virgo's limbs, because why not, before retreating towards building R with Smoker, on which this then has us cutting back to Luffy, coming in contact with this one dragon that is apparently top, revealing that he is Momonosuke, the son of Kinemon. And after talking a little, they're like, yo, I think we should escape. And so they head out of the garbage chute together, where Luffy interrogates some guards about Caesar's whereabouts. And upon being guided, he is then brought to the R66 gate, bumping into Brownbeard, who is now getting bullied by Caesar. On which, of course, we got Luffy coming in for the save, where he then follows up and questioning Caesar's reasoning for being on this island. On which he then goes and explains the reason for Law trying to capture him, which apparently he's the only person capable of producing SAD, a substance able to produce artificial devil fruits called smiles, that Doflamingo's business heavily relies on. And with Doflamingo running this business, he sells these artificial fruits to big names such as Kaido. And yeah, with messing with his business, this will ultimately make big names like Kaido.
Isn't it amazing that all these little bits actually do build up to, like, everything that happens in Wano with Kaido, with all these artificial fruits and everything like that? Man, that's
very angry and possibly shake up the entire world. Which Luffy is like, real cool story, bud. Bopping Caesar across the face, forcing Caesar into his second phase of the boss battle. But Luffy's like, get out of here with all that, clapping him once again, and in the process breaking the R66 gate wide open, allowing him and his allies to escape. And so with that, we now got these Straw Hats, the Marines, and the children all arriving at Building R upon being rescued. And yeah, we got a nice little roller coaster to our escape from Punk Hazard, and it's poisonous gas. But this is when Doflamingo orders Monet to wipe out everyone on the island with the island's apparent self-destruct button. I don't know when they installed that shit, but it's here, and so she presses it. And oh god, will the Straw Hats make it? Oh wait, false alarm, because Monet actually doesn't press the button due to the fact that Caesar stabs her heart, ending her career, which you may be questioning, why would he do that? And that's simply because way back when, Law supposedly handed over Smoker's heart to Caesar, but during the exchange, he ended up pulling off some high IQ plays, swapping Smoker's heart with Monet's. And damn, it seems they all managed to escape this facility on this one minecart, but they soon have to find Frankie on the outside, going up against two of Doflamingo's men, I mean man and woman, Baby 5 and Bafulo, which with the power of teamwork, Nami and Usopp managed to do the job with a cheeky little club attack, clapping the both of them, followed up with restraining them, along with Caesar, who happened to be nearby. And so moving forward, to celebrate the little victory on Punk Hazard, they end up having this little cookout, where Kinemon reunites with his son, Momonosuke, who happens to transform back to his human form, and Law out here doing the heavy duty and extracting all the poison from the children that they consume from the candy provided by Caesar.
Now, the next bit that took me by surprise when watching this, I know it's meant to be funny, but like it is, it's very entertaining, but it's also me remembering stuff. I'll never forget reading this, and then the fact that Doflamingo's made out to be like the next big bad, and then he just turns up at the end of this, doesn't he?
Upon them looking all good and well, Nami's then like, alright, I guess I'll leave the children in the Marines' care. They seem very trustable. And so with that, with everyone deciding to part ways, the Straw Hats, Law, Kinemon, and Momonosuke head back to the Sunny, saying their goodbyes to the children, as well as the Marines, and now set sail towards Dressrosa, all according to Law's Keikaku. And so moving forward, we now got Doflamingo heading towards Punk Hazard, after feeling the very sus nature of how things went. And as he makes his way towards there, he then finds Baby 5 and Buffalo's head on a raft, along with with a transponder snail, which upon answering it, Law is like, hello, this Doflamingo, revealing that he has possession of Caesar, and negotiates if he resigns his role as warlord, he'll be more than happy to return Caesar to him, which pretty much means he'll have to scrap everything that he worked for these past 10 years. But I mean, 10 years isn't all that much, right? Which following that, Law then says, if he doesn't follow through with this by tomorrow, the negotiation is off, and hangs up right then and there. God damn! Which moving forward to the following morning, as they are making their course towards Dressrosa, we now got Law explaining his whole plan to his fellow alliance about his plot to take down Kaido. And yo, I think Momonosuke is focusing on the wrong plot. But yeah, upon receiving the morning newspaper, this is where they get the news about Doflamingo resigning from being one of the warlords, and Law is like, haha. Kakadori, calling Doflamingo, telling him he'll return Caesar as promised, giving him a designated drop-off point, which would be north of Dressrosa, called Green Bit, which upon letting him know, Law simply hangs up like a savage, explaining his ulterior motive to the Straw Hats to lure Doflamingo so that he can finally destroy the Smile manufacturing factory on this island to completely and utterly destroy his business.
Yes.
Which we then follow up with a nice and casual lunch, having Kinemon over here explaining why him and Momonosuke were at Punk Hazard, and pretty much how things went is that they were on their way to this one island called Zo, got shipwrecked, ended up on Dressrosa, got attacked by Doflamingo's men, and in the midst of the attack, Momonosuke boarded this one ship like a dumbass with some children seeking medical attention, making Kinemon go after him, leaving their samurai buddy Kanjuro behind to hold off the threats. Meanwhile, now cutting over to the Marine headquarters, it's apparently revealed that Bucky became one of the warlords during the time of the Straw Hats training guards. I don't know like what happened there, but I guess that's valid, which I guess now
I love Buggy's story within One Piece. It's so freaking cool. It's such a cool background story.
moving forward, we now get the Straw Hats arriving at Dressrosa, where Law gives Nami a Vivre card that points directly towards Zo, where the rest of the Heart Pirates are posted at, in case anything happens to them, but I'm sure nothing happens here where they'll have to resort to that. And so upon Law delivering the game plan to locate and destroy the Smile factory, we then have everyone dividing into 3 groups, with Momonosuke, Chopper, Nami, and Brook protecting the Sunny, Law, Usopp, and Robin delivering Caesar at the drop-off point, and Law, Sanji, Zero, Kinemon, and Frankie heading downtown to do some silly old exploration,
yeah.
where they happen to go into this one diner,
The silly disguises. Oh, mate. Dressrosa is so good.
finding this one blind dude who is apparently a Marine named
Oh, mate.
Fujitora,
And his ability is so sick.
with the ability to manipulate gravity, on which we then get Zoro's swords randomly getting yoinked by some random individual, which then has Zoro, Sanji, and Kinemon chasing after it as Luffy interrogates this one thug about the Smile factory, on which he then brings up this one Kurita Coliseum, talking about how the grand prize is Ace's devil fruit, the flare fruit. Luffy's like, oh, you for real? Let me get that shit real quick. Heading off with Frankie to gatekeep this devil fruit from anyone else, on which they then encounter this one talking toy soldier named Thunder Soldier, who I guess is the front desk to this Coliseum, and Luffy proceeds to sign into the tournament under the alias Lucy. And so with Luffy entering the tournament as a participant, this leaves Frankie and the Thunder Soldier talking about the Don Quixote family, aka the Don Quixote pirates, ran by Doflamingo, which is then revealed by the Thunder Soldier that he too has the objective to destroy the Smile factory and end Doflamingo's reign. And with having mutual interest, Frankie and him head out to do things as Luffy gravitates towards the Coliseum to get that succulent flare fruit, getting absolutely dripped out.
So cool. Looks so freaking sick.
As the gladiator, meeting up with this one dude named Cavendish, who ends up expanding his intent to kill the Supernovas for stealing his spotlight in the newspapers 3 years ago, and just hating Luffy most out of all of them. But luckily, this is Lucy and not Luffy. And so following that, we then got
You can't see the difference.
Luffy staring at this one statue, in which this one girl pulls up named Rebecca, explaining that this is the legendary gladiator Kyros, who managed to acquire 3,000 victories in a row before mysteriously disappearing 20 years ago, and how she plans to acquire the Flare Devil Fruit to kill Doflamingo. Which, before heading off, she then reveals that she's in Block D, which in turn has Luffy revealing that he's in Block C, which, if you don't know how everything worked out in this Coliseum, basically there are 4
It's a tournament arc! Tournament arc!
total blocks, A through D, and each individual block has a battle royale to determine a single winner, on which by the end of all of this, there should be 4 contestants remaining to compete for the grand prize, which, of course, is the Devil Fruit. And speaking of which, Block A concludes with Burgess from the Blackbeard Pirates winning, bringing us to Block B. And oh wow, this one pirate named Bartolomeo happens to be the winner here, and is apparently Luffy's #1 fan. But now cutting back to our boy Sanji, we now have him getting distracted by this one dancer named Viola, which following her performance, he then requests if he can escort her into another town to kill someone. What? And with Sanji being Sanji, he's like, yo, I got you. Because he's out here just speaking with his dick, assisting her in this operation, bringing him to this one location where Viola's like, haha, gotcha, bitch. Knowledgeable of his identity. And wait, what? She was evil this entire time and apparently has been working with the Emily, using her Devil Fruit ability to look into others' minds, on which she does here with Sanji. But unfortunately finds nothing but Nami R34 in his hard drive, which has her shook. And after a nice little talk jutsu, Viola then breaks down, turning against her men, and Frank Sanji in the end, warning him about the grand deception of Doflamingo and how he actually didn't resign his role of being a warlord to trick Law, which...
What a bad lying man.
Now cutting over to Law's group over here, they happen to arrive at Greenbit safely with Caesar, where they notice some marine ships around, on which has him sending up Robin and Usopp around to scout the area as he brings Caesar to the drop-off location. This is when, unfortunately, Robin and Usopp gets attacked by the forest dwarves and captured, waking up in the Tontana Kingdom, a kingdom underneath Greenbit, ran by the Tontana tribe, aka the dwarves, which has Robin over here like, yo, you know we're friendly, right? And with the dwarves being very susceptible to kindness, and, I mean, people never lie, right? They're like, oh, alright, let me just free you then. Also believing in Usopp's story of being the legendary hero Nolan, coming here to save them. And so with that, the dwarves then go on explaining how 500 of their people, including their princess, are being held at a smile factory as working slaves, revealing its hidden location, which is directly below the Colosseum. And with agreeing to help, Usopp and Robin then head over to the Tontata tribe's secret headquarters beneath the Flower Hill, discussing their plan to destroy Doflamingo and his factory, with Frankie and Thunder Soldier arriving here shortly after. Which, now cutting over back to Law, he happens to get a call from Sanji, warning him about what he heard from Viola, telling him that he's been scammed, and this negotiation with Caesar was all a setup. But unfortunately, like any drama show, it's always too late, with Admiral Fujitora, Doflamingo, and the Marines quickly closing in on Law's location.
I love how Doflamingo has no problem just like jumping in by himself. Like, I think that's such a freaking cool little thing. Most villains have like the backup and that. He's like, nah, I'm gonna go in and deal with this.
And it seems he's in a little bit of a pickle here. Meanwhile, cutting over to the Sunny, Nami's group happens to get invaded by a member of the Don Quixote family, Jota, putting them through a whole ass acid trip. But this is when Chopper calls Law for some help, which he tells them to simply sail towards Green Bay to help him out of his predicament, because he's the only one that matters, right? As for the ones on the Sunny, oh wow, it seems Brook manages to handle the threat here, restoring the Sunny back to its original state, allowing them to head straight towards Law, and Law is like, yes, finally, my ride is here, warping his way back to it with Caesar, telling the Straw Hats to head straight towards Zoe, and oh dear, it seems Doflamingo is charging towards them, which upon dropping off Caesar, this is when Law allows the Straw Hats to blast off towards Zoe to retreat, as he drags both him and Doflamingo to this one secluded bridge to settle things. On which Law then brings up this one thing about him wanting to make Doflamingo pay for what he did to him 13 years ago, which now cutting back to Luffy, Block C is starting, and to stay undercover, he holds back from using his Devil Fruit abilities and strictly sticks to Taijutsu. And oh my god, we got nothing but an insane fight here, this intense battle royale, and oh wow, would you look at that, the main character wins. How very surprising. Which upon leaving the ring, this is when Luffy gets barraged by some participants, on which Rebecca comes in clutch, dragging Luffy to safety, where she then decides to just go on about her story about getting the Flare fruit to kill Doflamingo and have him pay for killing her mother and ruining this kingdom. Also,
it's like random, I never asked, but okay, thanks for your backstory.
mentioning how Thunder Soldier stepped into Razor as sort of like a fatherly figure. Shortly after, here's when Block D starts, and Rebecca's like, oh, I guess it's my turn. Well, I'ma head out, entering the arena, and it seems everyone hates her for some reason. I don't know if it's about her being the granddaughter of the former king of Dressrosa, who knows, but here we go,
Could have something to do with it.
But let's forget about it for the time being, as we now cut over to Zoro, who manages to catch up to his sword thief, which happens to be this one dwarf named Wika, and upon being caught here, she then goes on to how she has to report back to her fellow dwarves about the Don Quixote family's whereabouts, and how they are currently heading towards the Straw Hat ship. And with hearing this has Zoro rushing towards the Sunny, taking Wika along, where they soon after bump into Sanji, Kinemon, and Viola, which after exchanging a few words, Zoro then heads out with Kinemon and Wika to search for Luffy, as Sanji heads out with Viola to do their own thing. And so with heading to the Colosseum, Zoro and Kinemon happen to bump into Luffy's #1 fan, Bartolomeo, and then helps him get in contact with Luffy, which as they're communicating, this is when Law's 1v1 with Doflamingo goes a little crazy, having Law's ass cheeks getting clapped and sent across the globe to the very location where Luffy's group is at, on which he then gets surrounded by Marines, which has our protagonist over here fuming, which shortly after, we then got Doflamingo and Fujitora heading off to the palace, bringing Law along with them to just have a nice talk, having Luffy over here looking for an escape from the Colosseum to save his boy. And yeah, I guess there are these bars he can go through, but something tells me he can't even touch Sea Stone. I don't know why, man. Like, what's up with that? But yeah, upon looking for an exit, Luffy by some luck ends up bumping into this one dude with a top hat, seemingly knowing Luffy already. And what? Is that Sabo? Who is apparently still alive and is here to claim Ace's Devil Fruit to inherit his will. And with Sabo taking his place at the Colosseum as Lucy, Luffy then heads out with Kinemon and Zoro, heading directly to the palace to rescue Law, having Wika guide them. Meanwhile, over at Usopp's group, here's when Thunder Soldier tells them, alright, it's backstory time, revealing that Rebecca is his biological daughter. What? And how 10 years ago, the King Riku lost his throne and the respect of the people of Dressrosa. And the one behind all of this was Doflamingo, of course, taking control of the king one night with his string fruit, having this man Riku slaughtering his own people, even taking control of some of his men to kill even more civilians. And at the end of all of it, Doflamingo then pops out, defeating Riku and his men, appearing as the people's hero and savior.
I am your savior now.
Following the story, Thunder Soldier then goes on explaining how the king is still alive, with Viola agreeing to join the Don Quixote family in exchange of keeping her father alive. And so with bringing this up, Thunder Soldier then brings up his Operation SOP, with the objective to wipe out Sugar, who is the devil fruit user responsible for turning all humans
Her
into
ability,
toys here
man,
on
wow,
Dressrosa, and to
something
destroy the
else.
facilities in which the dwarves are being held at, which he happened to pinpoint Sugar's location in this one underground trading port that apparently he has a secret passageway to. However, with Frankie being too dummy thick for it, this led him to go to another area of the facility, which is the toy house, where he then causes a little bit of a distraction, allowing the others to execute the plan. And with their arrival at the underground port, they just find a bunch of these toys slaving away against their own will, and this is when Thunder Soldier heads into this one elevator all alone with the ambition to assassinate
Let's
the Flamingo,
go.
which I guess leaves Usopp in charge of the dwarf army to take out Sugar. And upon approaching Sugar at the executive tower, the dwarves then devise a plan to have her consume this very one sussy ass grape with hot sauce to knock her out. Honestly, sounds foolproof, something I would definitely fall for. However, surprisingly, it falls short, with her quickly realizing, and goddamn, it seems some of the dwarves get turned into toy bears as a result. How very unfortunate. Which we then have Sugar's bodyguard Treble appearing and splurging all over the dwarves with this colossal bukkake, and apparently it's flammable. And upon igniting it, yeah, I think it might be GG here, leaving them all looking very toasted. Which now cutting back over to Luffy's squad, making their way to the palace. They happen to encounter Viola, willing to assist them entry into the palace through this one very secret passage. And with going through this passage, they find themselves at this one gate leading to the lower floors of the palace, on which Luffy and Luffy Fashion stealthily makes his way through, allowing them all to enter. Where Doflamingo over here in this room is like, wait a sec, how is he on this TV but like here at the same time? Like, this shit ain't adding
This
up.
don't make sense.
Pressing through these floors, easy peasy lemon deezies. And here's when Kinemon decides to go out on his own to search for his samurai pal Tanjiro, taking Wika along for instructions on where he could possibly be at. But of course, Luffy, Zoro, and Viola are like, whatever, making their way closer to Doflamingo, where they are then intercepted by Pika of the Don Quixote family. And this man is just out here using his stone golem on them, on which Zoro is like, I got this, no worries, allowing Luffy and Viola to proceed forward, bumping into Thunder Soldier along the way, and ignoring every threat around, because we only really care about the final boss, which he happens to be in this one room called the Suit Chamber. And they find Law here being interrogated by the man himself, Doflamingo, accompanied by a couple of his other subordinates. And this is when Thunder Soldier's over here like, you know what, it's backstory time. Recalling the time when
I love it.
he was in his human form and was a fellow named Kyros, a godlike gladiator.
No way, the guy from the statue.
Was that very person in that one statue that Luffy was staring at?
Yeah.
Crazy how things come full circle like this. And somewhere down this flashback, Kyros manages to become the captain of Riku's royal guards, and in the process saves his eldest daughter, Scarlet, from kidnappers, and marries her, eventually pooping out Rebecca. But of course, the happy times never last, and it ends abruptly with Doflamingo making his appearance in Dressrosa, with his grand scheme to take over. And with Kyros trying to check in on the palace during the attack, here's when he ends up getting ambushed by the Don Quixote family, getting turned into a toy like a little scrub. He manages to escape, rescuing King Riku in the end. So I guess that's all that matters. But unfortunately, due to the influence of the hobby fruit, aka the fruit that turned him into a toy, the king doesn't recognize him, because anyone who gets turned into a toy apparently gets forgotten about.
Yeah, everyone else's memory of that person just disappears. So weird.
40 days later, Kyros witnesses Diamante of the Don Quixote family murdering his wife Scarlet, just right in front of him like that, with her giving her final wishes to him to take care of Rebecca. And speaking of Rebecca, oh wow, she happens to win Block D all by herself.
Alright,
let's
let's
go,
go,
like,
Rebecca.
that was some slight work. Which now brings us to the final round of the Coliseum for the grand prize, the juicy Flare fruit, with all of the winners of their block heading out to pursue it. Also having Diamante making his appearance, because, I mean, why not? And pretty much how this final round goes is that there will be a bunch of deadly fish in the water, with one of them having a chest strapped onto it containing the devil fruit. And so it seems the final round is starting here, on which we then cut back to the underground trading port, with Usopp pulling up as if he was the main character, trying to save the dwarves, taking on Trouble and Sugar at once, and shooting his little,
he has his moments.
slingshot thing, and doing absolutely no damage, which honestly, how very tragic. And oh wow, it leads up to him getting rolled by Trouble. And here's when Sugar pulls up to do a little trolling, like, oh my, this is just bad. And oh wow, she feeds him the sussy spicy berry, which it backfires on her, having Usopp jump scaring her with his reaction and knocking her out with a heart attack. Not too shabby. And so with her going unconscious, all of the once human turned toys began reverting back to their original forms, and I guess Operation SOP was a success, with Doflamingo over here looking very salty, and with all humans being freed from the toy state, Kyros manages to regain his original body, just automatically charging straight towards Doflamingo, doing quite some damage here. Oh my god. And it seems King Riku gets freed here. And so with all the threats pretty much taken care of, here's when Luffy attempts to free Law, but this is when Doflamingo casually talks, detached from his body, telling everyone, since it just has been a disaster for him today, I guess I have no other option but to pull out the birdcage, which Law is like, Muska. And this is when Pika pulls up, getting everyone on
Where's the background story? Where's background time for Doflamingo? When was background time for Doflamingo? Was it at the end?
Luffy's team out of the room as Doflamingo carries on with the birdcage thing. And this practically just puts everyone on Dressrosa in this one indestructible cage with the intention to leave no survivors. Honestly, I'm kind of scared, man. And just like that one night with King Riku and his royals, he even starts taking control of some of the people on the island, forcing them against each other on some villainous shit. And I think he's a villain. Which in the process of all this, Doflamingo then has Pika shift the palace to the Smile Factory, and the Flower Hill shifted upwards to give everyone a little challenge to get to him. And yeah, with everything laid out, we now cut back over to the final round of the Colosseum, with Saba just absolutely destroying any competition coming his way, dominating the stage, and oh wow, getting the Flare fruit, obtaining his powers, and who would have expected this, huh? On which he simply just dabs on everyone, burning a hole straight down, having everyone fall into the underground training port, with all the gladiators that were once toys praising their Lord and Savior Usopp, referring them shortly after.
Usopp.
Then have Saba and Rebecca grouping up with Koala, Hack, Bartomelo, Usopp, and Robin. And who are these other characters, you may be asking? Well, I'm gonna get to it, okay? And pretty much Saba, Koala, and Hack are members of the Revolutionary Army, which, yeah, it's the same army as Ivankov and Dragon, with the objective to overthrow the world government. And does this Koala name sound familiar? Yes, it is. I mean, yeah, it's that one fucking girl. And Tiger dropped off once upon a time, leading to his final L. But anyways, with Saba introducing himself and how the Revolutionary Army is here to stop the distribution of weapons, enabling war. This is when Doflamingo appears on the big screen on some Saw shit, telling everyone, let's play a game. Telling everyone, the rules are simple. You just have to kill me, and that he'll be located at the Royal Palace. Also give everyone an alternative method of winning, which is to kill everyone on his hit list, which is pretty much anyone affiliated with the Straw Hats. I don't know if that comes off as a surprise. And also mentions a huge money prize associated with every kill. And with hearing this, Luffy heads out with Zoro and Law, despite Law not being freed from his cuffs just yet. But I mean, why not just take him out on the journey, right? And with Luffy's little squad heading out, we also got Kiros heading out to take out Doflamingo on his own, cause fuck teamwork. And yeah, with Luffy, Zoro, and Law making their leap towards the surface, they end up encountering Fujitora, on which after having a little battle with him, here's when Pika pulls up on some Colossal Titan shit, talking some shit, and his voice box is unreasonably high, having Luffy just dying over.
He finds it funny,
sheer goofiness, on which triggers Pika throwing a punch directly at Luffy, causing some mass destruction upon impact, sending everyone across the world, man, like across the map on some shit. I just don't. Oh my god, surprisingly enough, it seems Luffy, Zoro, and Law seem to be fine, and bumping into many gladiators from the Colosseum. And with them being grateful that Usopp saved them from being toys, they all join forces with Luffy with the sole objective to take Doflamingo down. But I mean, first they got Pika to deal with, on which Zoro's like, you know what, I got this. Let me rematch this bitch real quick, taking him on in a 1v1, allowing Luffy to go on ahead towards the palace to eat out Doflamingo's cute little ass. And as he's making the way towards there with Law, we got Saba over here doing the honors and taking on the Marines to allow his bro to push forward. And with Luffy in quite a rush, he then says, fuck it, let me just make my own shortcut, punching a nice little hole to the upper layers, finding Cavendish, offering him a free ride, on which boarding his horse, Tyrus then appears once again, rejoining with Luffy's squad as these other gladiators stay back to handle the Don Quixote family, allowing Luffy to breeze through with zero problem. Meanwhile, over at Robin's group, the dwarves, Rebecca, Bartolomeo, Hack, and Usopp manage to find a way up to Viola and Riku, where Rebecca has a nice family reunion with her aunt and grandpa.
Yay.
Very wholesome. And Viola reveals that she has found the key to Law's cuffs, on which she entrusts it to Robin, Bartolomeo's, and Rebecca's care to bring it over to him, which now cutting over to the Smile Factory, where we have all these enslaved dwarves being held at. We have the guards promising if they work hard, they will be able to cure the princess, Monsheri, from her illness. But this is when the Pink Bee squad pulls up, telling them that they're fucking idiots and that they've been fooled by the guards. And with finding out the truth, the dwarves then end up revolting against their overseers, and Frankie pulls through, freeing them from the factory by opening the front gates for them, as well as making out with the factory's boss. I mean, why not? And so with all of that, this is when the dwarves discover that the Princess Monsheri wasn't actually at the factory this whole entire time and is being kept elsewhere. And upon notifying Leo, he assumes that she's most likely being held at the palace. And I guess it seems he was right, with his rescue mission becoming a success. And so I guess this leaves the other dwarves to handle demolition duty of the Smile Factory, with Frankie taking the lead upon defeating Senor Pink of the Don Quixote family. And with that, we then cut over to Kinemon, locating his buddy Conjuro in this one underground chamber, having a nice little reunion with them, and shortly after heading off together, utilizing Conjuro's Brush Devil Fruit ability, painting this beautiful and lively bird for their escape, and managed to make the way all the way up to where Usopp's group is at. Meanwhile, cutting over to Luffy's group, as they are grinding their way towards the palace, they happen to encounter a bunch of deadly nutcrackers just spawning out of nowhere. And coincidentally, as they are fighting these nutcrackers, over the top of them comes Robin's squad, being attacked by gladiators of the Don Quixote family, resulting in Robin
Such a cool character design.
Rebecca, telling her to keep moving forward towards the Flower Hill with the key, as Robin falls straight down towards Luffy's group alongside Bartolomeo and Gladius, telling Law, yeah, your key is that Flower Hill, by the way. My bad. Giving them the right of way to head straight towards there as everyone stays back to hold off the opposition. And so with Luffy and Law making their way there, thanks to the help of Bartolomeo's beautiful stairway, they managed to make their way to Rebecca, who is apparently being attacked by Diamante, on which Kiros pulls up here using that very stairway, taking him on in a 1v1 as Rebecca gives the keys to Law's cuffs, freeing him at long last. And upon thanking her, Luffy and Law then says, yeah, I think Kiros got this. Let's just head straight to the palace to eat Doflamingo's ass. Cause yeah, Kiros over here is just dominating this bitch, avenging his wife's killer in this one very epic battle. And as Law and Luffy are making their way towards Doflamingo, oh god, it seems Sugar has reawakened, hungry for revenge. But luckily for them, Viola spots the threat with her Devil Fruit ability, allowing her the ability to view areas within a 4,000-kilometer radius. And before Sugar is able to reach them, Viola and Kanjuro do a combination attack using her eyes and Kanjuro's special ammo, and with Usopp lining up the perfect shot, hitting it right on the mark of Sugar and knocking her once again due to yet again another jump scare, hitting her up with back-to-back heart attacks. And so following this allows Luffy and Law to fling all the way up to Doflamingo's location, no problem, coming face to face with the legend himself, with him just bullying Koro Bellamy over here, who was that one dude back on Jaya hundreds of episodes ago.
That was
like,
a while
who is
ago.
this guy? And apparently he's working under Doflamingo, on which this is when Doflamingo just decides to talk some shit towards Law after being upset that he has meddled with his plans. On which, oh god, it seems we get this one very epic battle with Luffy and Law versus the final boss at long last. And oh god, it seems they end up getting rolled here. Or is Doflamingo decides to go on about his life story here, like just yapping, revealing his family's past, of how his despicable father made his family fall out of luxury, and how his mother died of illness because of it. Which of course had Doflamingo over here very angry, just casually killing his father as a result, in hopes of restoring his status as a world noble. However, I don't think that really worked out as planned. And so I guess this left him with no other option but to destroy every part of the world that the world nobles rule. Because I guess if you can't join them, you just destroy them.
You gotta kill him.
All of that, Doflamingo then reveals the full potential of Law's Devil Fruit, which is the ability to grant eternal life, at the cost of the user's life, of course, because we all gotta respect the law of equivalent exchange, which has Law like, you know what, I think it's time for my backstory. Going on about how 16 years ago, he met up with the Don Quixote family, having a little over 3 years to live, due to having this one disease called the Amber Lead disease, and was filled with nothing but the desire to destroy everything. However, upon meeting this one individual, Doflamingo's blood brother, Rocinante, things kind of changed. But of course, first, we gotta go over this whole entire Amber Lead disease, originating from Law's hometown, Levance, also known as White Town, a town very well known for its valuable Amber Lead material, which has various uses, but apparently it has unexpected side effects, on which poisons its people through exposure, aka giving them a high risk of Amber Lead disease. And yeah, just as things are looking pretty jolly here in this flashback, with Law's father teaching him the ways of being a doctor, boom! Law's sister ends up getting
that made me jump, Jesus.
Boom! Everyone else in the town gets hit by it as well, leading to the neighboring countries walling them off, assuming it's contagious. And oh dear, it seems a whole ass war breaks out, which led to Flavance getting wiped out.
Oh, see what we did there?
I'm just so funny, man. On which with Flavance getting destroyed, residents get absolutely exterminated as well, leaving Law as the sole survivor on some Uchiha shit. And so cutting back to the next layer of this flashback, we then got Doflamingo talking to Law on how he'll be able to train him to become his right-hand man, and that there's maybe a Devil Fruit out there to save his life, who knows. On which moving forward, Law then goes on a nice little training arc with the Don Quixote family, where Law reveals his full name, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw.
D-Law, oh my god, he's got the
D. Away from Doflamingo, with him having the Will of D in his name, which I guess single-handedly makes him a sworn enemy to the gods. And afterwards, Rocinante takes Law on a journey to cure his disease. However, unfortunately, luck wasn't really in their favor, which moving forward to 6 months later, here's when Doflamingo calls Rocinante, telling him to return with Law, and how he has gathered intel about the Op Fruit, which has the possibility of saving Law's life, going on about how a group of pirates are scheduled to selling it to the Marines. And with providing this information, Rocinante just automatically knows what's going on here, and how Doflamingo wants to use him to gain immortality using Law as leverage, because the fruit does also have the ability to do medical procedures to save Law. And so with Rocinante having close connections with the Marines, because this whole entire time he's been secretly working under them to put an end to his bro, upon finishing the call, this is when Law falls into critical condition, meaning that time is ticking. And so with traveling over to and invading this one hideout ran by the Barrel Pirates, this is when Rocinante completes his heist, obtaining the Up Fruit and force feeding it to Law before collapsing, telling Law to deliver this one very important message to the Marines, on which he does willingly, and with delivering it to Virgo out of all people, this has him snitching to Doflamingo that Rocinante is a traitor, which has Doflamingo pulling up on the island with his whole family, putting the entire place on lockdown with his cheeky little birdcage, preparing to annihilate everyone here, and doing the classic and controlling everyone to attack each other. And with this happening, Rocinante happens to bring Law to this very nice hiding spot, which is this one chest, as Doflamingo confronts him. And with Rocinante relieved that Law is finally free, he then happily eats Doflamingo's bullets up his ass as his final meal, and yeah, it seems Law manages to slip away afterwards. And so cutting back to the present, we now got Law here trying to avenge his boy, while Luffy does the side mission and taking care of Doflamingo's clone and Bellamy, trying to prove his self-worth to Doflamingo. I mean, but honestly, you're just a side character.
No, he just get beat up every single time.
Boss, he happens to get absolutely absolutely rolled here and filled with bullets just like his man. How very unfortunate. On which Luffy over here finishes his job taking care of this one clone as well as the scrub before heading up to the level where Doflamingo's at, finding Law laying there at 1 HP. And with seeing this, Luffy of course then goes on taking Doflamingo into 1v1 with Trouble just standing there like a cuck spectating the whole thing. And this is when Doflamingo is like, you know what, I think it's time we spice things up, having the birdcage around Dressrosa gradually shrink and cutting everything it comes in contact with, giving Luffy literally a time limit to save everyone running for their lives. And with this happening, we also got side fights like Gladius and Pika getting taken care of. With them being villains, you know, they all gotta die eventually. And yeah, I guess the only threat really left is Doflamingo with his goofy ass. Now wait, hold up. It seems Law is still in the game with him pulling some big IQ plays, penetrating Doflamingo with his gamma knife, melting his internal organs, and delivering the final blow, exerting all of his energy. But this is when Doflamingo is like, I got another life, by the way, repairing his organs with his string fruit and taking on Luffy once again.
That bit where Luffy stops his foot like that, so
with Luffy standing Law down below and trusting Law and Robin's care as he proceeds forward and clapping Doflamingo's ass. And oh wait, I mean his cheeks end up getting clapped by Doflamingo. What the fuck? Which of course leads Luffy to go and try hard, entering Gear 4th for the first time ever, looking rather thick. What the fuck? And with the
it's a very strange transformation, isn't it? But yeah, you know, the character designs, they very unique. Oda's a very unique manga artist.
Transformation. This allows Luffy to absolutely dominate Doflamingo in a very clean fashion with his sheer speed and power. And oh well, it seems Gear 4th wears off here. And oh shit, I think everyone is doomed here. With Doflamingo looking more angrier than before, increasing the rate of the birdcage closing in. But don't worry, we got some fellows over here pushing against it, which I'm sure is gonna slow it down. Which now moving forward, with Luffy in a weakened state, he then meets up with the announcer of the Coliseum, Gats, telling him that he'll need 10 minutes to recharge his hockey. On which with him taking his time to recharge over here, Viola pulls up with Doflamingo like, don't underestimate me, having one of the craziest brawls of all time. And oh wow. She loses.
No.
What? Which following that, this is when Rebecca arrives at the scene with Doflamingo like, yo, what are you guys trying to do? Y'all some silly motherfuckers. Taking control of them like puppets, having Rebecca
Why are you all attacking me? You can't take me, man.
in the motions of slaughtering her own aunt. And just as the blades are closing in on her, oh my god, the main characters make their appearance once again with the assistance of Law and White. Luffy goes into Gear 4th once again, taking this fight all the way up into the sky on some Dragon Ball Z shit. And oh, it seems Luffy manages to come in clutch this time, sending Doflamingo into the abyss with this one singular attack, depleting the last of his energy. And oh, I guess the final boss is defeated now. And so with Doflamingo's defeat, the birdcage then starts fading away as everyone now celebrates. Which shortly after, we then have all the Marines arresting all the Don Quixote pirates, excluding Viola, Baby 5, and Bellamy, because they've definitely converted into very nice individuals, I think. And with everything all now peaceful again, here's when the people of Dressrosa beg Riku to return to the throne again with the abolishment of Doflamingo. And he's like, yeah, shit, why not? And with that, here's when Fujitora arrives, apologizing on the behalf of the world government for allowing Doflamingo to get away with the things he did at Dressrosa, which, I mean, it's kind of late to apologize. But yeah.
It is a bit late, but it's better late than never. He's an alright dude. It's weird with the Marines, isn't it? Like, some of them are kind of cool, and then some of them are just like, wow, what a prick.
Moving forward, the Strauss and their allies then crashes at Kuros's house for the night, where Sabo apparently pulls up, revealing to those still awake about his past with Ace and Luffy, and how Dragon was actually the one who saved him upon being
backstory time.
World Noble. After explaining all that, he then gives the Straw Hats a Vivre card that he personally created for Luffy, taking a piece along with him before heading off. Which moving forward to the following morning, King Riku manages to get his title back as king, and with doing so, Rebecca obtains the role of being princess, and with her being a part of this whole royal family, Kuros is then like, yeah, let me just not interfere, to separate himself from his daughter, with him previously having a past of being a criminal. Which now cutting over back to the Straw Hats, here's when Bartolomeo warns everyone at this one house that the Marines are actually coming after them, and with them closing in on them quickly, they all retreat, where Luffy is like, wait, hold up, I got something to do real quick. Heading straight directly to Rebecca at the palace, asking her if she's fine with Kuros' decision of distancing himself from her, which she's like,
no.
I don't think so. And so with Luffy taking her to see Kuros, many people of Dressrosa thinks that she's being kidnapped, but it seems in the end, Luffy manages to make his way over to Kuros, despite all of the commotion, where we then have the two reconcile, with Rebecca giving up her role as princess to live with her father. And so moving forward, Fujitora approaches the Straw Hats and the gladiators, trying to stop them in the tracks, and just raising a bunch of fucking rubble from the aftermath of Doflamingo's birdcage with his devil fruit ability. And this is when Luffy arrives to save the day, taking on the Admiral in this very intense 1v1, where Fujitora is just like, yo, I'm sick of this shit, clapping Luffy real quick, sending him flying, but luckily for Luffy, this one gladiator catches him. And so I guess we now got all the Straw Hats and their allies now retreating towards the port, so that they can just sail away from this Fujitora guy.
Let's get out of here.
A little too high for them. But this is when Fujitora says, not so fast, hovering the rubble over them, and just as he's about to release it and make it rain down on his enemies, the residents of Dressrosa that rush towards the Straw Hats, saying out loud that their objective is to get Luffy for kidnapping Rebecca, which was definitely not a lie, and they definitely were not trying to protect the Straw Hats to allow them to escape. And with that, the Straw Hats and their allies then board this one gladiator ship, where Luffy then has everyone on his dick, begging to work under him.
Yeah.
However, Luffy's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need y'all like that.
Oh yeah, they formed this alliance thing, don't they? That's
This is when this one underworld pirate alliance attacks them because they're very angry at Luffy for dismantling Doflamingo's market, on which Fujitora is like, yeah, let me just drop all of this rubble on their ships because Luffy's the main character and he's feeling pretty
gotta
soon to
carry
towards
on.
him. So with the Straw Hats leaving an impact on Dressrosa, we now got the people of Dressrosa coexisting with the dwarves, and Doflamingo out here getting transferred to Impel Down for being a naughty boy. On which, moving forward, we got the Straw Hats, Law, Kinemon, and Kanjuro departing from their one gladiator ship to board Bartolomeo's, which is called the Going Luffy Senpai, which I don't understand why this guy is so much of a weep for Luffy, but yeah, it's
why not? It's funny.
customized, as they all now
I do find Bartholomew very, very funny. I love this whole alliance thing. So hilarious.
head towards Zou to meet up with the rest of the Straw Hat crew. And so upon having this nice little tour around the ship, they then get a nice little peep at their newly updated bounties following their run on Dressrosa, with Luffy being juiced up to 500 million berries, Zoro up to 320 million berries, Usopp up to 200 million, Sanji up to 177 million, Robin up to 130 million, Frankie up to 94 million, Brook up to 83 million, Nami up to 66 million, and Chopper up to a whopping 100 berry bounty, really stepping up his game. And out of all the bounties, the one that really stands out is Sanji's, with his being the only one listed as only alive, rather than dead or alive, like everyone else, which I wonder why, and I honestly don't think this is all that big of a plot point, so I think we can move on. Which, moving forward, we're not gonna go in Luffy Senpai, finally arriving at the island of Zou, which is this one.
I was thinking, when does Zou fit in? Because it's Zou before Whole Cake, isn't it? So I was like, Whole Cake Island has to happen before Wano, but when's that? So yeah, they go Zou. Yeah, cool.
One rather thick elephant. Which, fun fact, did you know Zou translates to elephant in English? The more you know. And with arriving here, here's when Law warns everyone that the Mink tribe living here are actually quite racist against humans, which Luffy is like, nah. Ain't no way. And so with everyone boarding the island, giving the thanks to Bartolomeo and his crew for the ride, they all managed to make their way up top Zou, excluding Kinemon and Kanjuro, who happened to get slapped by this one monkey on the way up, knocking the both of them down. But I'm sure they'll find a way back up, right? And so with the Straw Hats and Law heading into the Mokomo Dukedom, here's when they end up getting attacked by the Guardians, as well as the Minks, Carrot, and Wanda. But this is when the Heart Pirate pulls out like, yo, they're friendly. On which the Minks are like, oh, shoot. My bad. With Wanda now insisting on bringing Luffy to his crewmates, on which being brought there, they end up being greeted by the Minks living here, and Zoro questions Wanda like, yo, I thought you guys were supposed to be racist against us. And she responds telling him, oh, that's just all a goofy misconception. And so with that, Luffy's squad joyfully reunites, with Nami absolutely slaughtering the vibe, telling them that Sanji has been taken by the Big Mom Pirates. Which, I mean, what happened? I guess we gotta have a flashback here. Going back 17 days ago, when the Beast Pirates raided Zou, in search of this one shinobi named Raizo from the Wano Kingdom. However, the Minks tell them that they have zero clue where this dude is, which gets the Beast Pirates riled up, which is, by the way, the crew ran by Kaido. And this just erupted a whole ass war on this island over this one individual, lasting an entire 5 days, leading to the Beast Pirates getting tired of this nonsense,
The
and just dropping
Musketeers!
some Nova gas on their asses, knocking out all of the Minks in one single swoop, on which they then proceed to crucify and torture them, because why not? This is when they then get a call that Doflamingo
They're bad
has been
guys.
defeated and arrested, having them all just drop this mission to rescue their ally. So I guess in a way you can say the Straw Hats' victory on Dressrosa kind of saved them. And so moving forward to the following day, this is when Sanji's group manages to make their arrival at Zou, after of course fending off the Big Mom Pirates after them, and utilizes Caesar's Devil Fruit to make their way up this dummy thick elephant, on which upon their arrival, they find the city just covered in gas, with many unconscious Minks left and right. And with being the creator of it, Caesar is then forced to neutralize it like the little bitch that he is, allowing Chopper to cook up some antidotes to save those affected. And now you would think, after fending off the Big Mom Pirates and shaking them off, they would be cleared from them, but of course this is One Piece, and they managed to tail them all the way to Zou, making their arrival, with Peckham's along with Beige of the Fire Tank Pirates arriving at Sanji's group's location. And with recognizing that Peckham's is one of Big Mom's men, Sanji and Brook are like, yo, let's just have a civil talk here, questioning him about what Big Mom wants, on which first and foremost, Peckham's thanks all of them for saving his homeland, followed up with revealing that he's been sent on a mission to capture Sanji. However, with putting in consideration that the Straw Hats saved his hometown, he's then like, you know what, we could just take Caesar, that will be Daijoubu. But this is when Beige gets real opposed to this idea, with him being a dedicated and loyal OnlyFans subscriber to Big Mom, and is dedicated to following her orders, just completely and utterly blowing up Peckham's back here for even mentioning such a thing, followed followed up with sending out his men to surround the Straw Hats, and even managing to capture Nami, Chopper, and Caesar, who were just around the corner. And with that, Beige then sucks all of them into his body with that good
He's
suck,
got
using his
such
passive
an
custom
interesting
double fruit.
devil
We then have
fruit.
Sanji and Beige just having a nice conversation about this one arranged marriage that Big Mom wants to set up between her 35th daughter Pudding and Sanji, with the intention to form an alliance between her family and
Because
Vince
who is
Smoke.
Sanji really?
Because he's trying to build that harem. But with having the control here, Sanji's then like, well shit, I guess I'll accept your invitation, giving a note to Nami, which tells the crew that he'll BRB, giving everyone a nice warm group hug before yeeting them outside of the body castle, returning them back to their original size. And seeing that Caesar's a valuable piece to Big Mom's plan, he then holds him at gunpoint, making negotiations that he'll comply with everything as long as they leave the rest of his crew alone. And with making this agreement, Sanji then tells Nami, Chopper, and Brook, I'll be back, no worries, before being taken away. And so now cutting back to the present, we got Luffy determined to head to Big Mom's territory to find and question Sanji about the situation. And with Bingonzo, we then have him meeting up with one of the rulers, Ino Arashi. And yeah, after meeting up with him, we also got the other ruler, Nekomamushi, and apparently between these two rulers, they got some form of long-term beef between one another, but I don't think we'll get to it until a later episode.
Doesn't one look after the place during the day and one look after the place during the night because they don't get on? I'm sure that was that thing, wasn't it?
And so, moving forward, in the process of moving around Zou, Luffy's group manages to meet up with Peckham's, revealing that Sanji is a part of the legendary family of assassins called the Germa Dabaru Shiksu, or the Germa 66 for those non-weebs. And in the process of this whole conversation, Luffy somehow convinces Peckham's to guide him towards Big Mom's territory with his crazy Speech 100 abilities. And so, moving forward to the following morning, Kinemon and Kanjuro finally make their way up to the top of Zou, on which they then ask this one monkey mink that previously fell on them if he's seen their homie Raizo around here, on which just has him suffering from PTSD upon hearing this name, ringing the emergency bell, alerting everyone on the island about the samurais being on the island. And with all the minks heading out, we also got the Strats trying to prevent the samurais from engaging with the minks, with Raizo being the reason for the beast pirates nearly obliterating Zou. But in the process of all of this, here's when Ino Arashi and Nekomamushi come in contact with one another, talking mad shit towards each other, because this beef just goes too hard, on which we then have the samurai popping out of nowhere, with Momonosuke telling them to shut the fuck up, on which has the both of them just staring at him like,
whoa.
oh. You're right, and both bowing down, apologizing for their actions. And it's revealed that Momonosuke is not actually the son of Kinemon, but is actually the successor of the Daimyo Okuri Kozuki Oden, which I guess allows him to do as he pleases. And so, for the sake of their lord Momonosuke, Ino Arashi, and Nekomamushi then finally form a truce at long
Cats
last,
and dogs
watching the
finally
beef, where they then reveal that they've been actually hiding away
truce.
Raizo from the Beast Pirates, because he's their homie, man. And he's currently being hidden at this one red poneglyph. And with meeting up with him, he then out here just flexes his ninjutsu. I swear this is just the wrong anime for this. But upon Robin deciphering this one poneglyph, it reveals the coordinates of an island close to Laugh-Tale, aka is the endgame island for these pirates, if you forgot. And apparently this is a road poneglyph, 1 out of 4 that exists in the One Piece world. And apparently upon finding all 4 of these poneglyphs, they'll be able to use the 4 coordinates provided by it to triangulate the location of Laugh-Tale, which I mean is pretty cool. And it's also revealed here that out of the 4 road poneglyphs, there's only one that no one knows the location of, and that the other 2 are in the possession of Big Mom and Kaido, on which we then get the lore here about how hundreds of years ago, the Kozuki family were the ones who invented the poneglyphs. However, the knowledge of reading them ended in Oden's generation, with Kinemon revealing that Oden was actually executed by Kaido and the Shogun at Wano Country, having the Beast Pirates pretty much rule over Wano Country as a result, with Oden's final words being to open up the land of Wano, because apparently it's a crime to leave it on some North Korea shit. And so following that, we then also learned that Oden had knowledge about Laugh-Tale and the Void Century, having traveled with Luffy before. And with him now dead, Kaido had no other option but to hunt down his retainers of this information. However, Kaido is very much baka in this situation, as Oden retained all of this information to himself for the safety of his people. And with him being once a great daimyo, we got Oden's retainers over here on a mission to avenge him, attempting to recruit more forces to fight against Kaido, pleading the Straw Hats to lend a hand. On which Luffy is like, nah, I'm good, calling out Momonosuke for being a pussy, saying that he needs to be the one to step up and ask, because he's the one who should be leading Wano. And with Momonosuke finally stepping up to ask for help to defeat Kaido, Luffy is then like, oh, alright. Forming an alliance with the Ninja Pirate Samurai Alliance with the sole objective to destroy Kaido. And with forming this alliance, we got one group heading directly towards Whole Cake Island to rescue Sanji, another group heading towards Wano to prepare for the battle against Kaido.
Oh yeah, because they meet them when they get there. Yeah.
Nekomamushi grouping up with the Guardians to search for Marco, who's been participating in the payback war against the Blackbeard pirates, and is just getting absolutely rolled by them, with Blackbeard becoming one of the 4 emperors, and the final group standing back as Zou to protect it from any potential attacks. And with that, they then all break into the groups to pursue their jobs, and after all of this is said and done, they all agreed to meet up at Wano Country for their final mission to defeat Kaido. And so yeah, with that, we got Luffy's group heading to rescue Sanji, with Pedro accompanying them to keep Peckham's in check, and Carrot as well, with this one shirt telling everyone that she's a rabbit? Wait, what? I thought she was a giraffe. And oh god, I wish that was my Anyways, moving
Carrot's
forward, with all of them
cool.
heading towards Big Mom.
Her transformation's so
very salty
sick.
about Doflamingo's downfall. And now sets sights on getting his revenge against the worst generation, with Kid being his first victim, and god damn, he really captured
Yeah,
him. But
kid
anyways,
really
now
does
getting over back
get
to Luffy's squad, we now get them starving over here, going days without food, and upon catching this one fish, which was very poisonous, Luffy consumes it, causing him to collapse. On which we then have the German Double Six ship approaching them with Sanji's brother Yonji on it, along with his sister Reiji, leaping onto the Sunny upon introducing themselves, and I guess giving him some very passionate CPR. I mean, really out here giving him that A1 experience, sucking every bit of poison out of him, saving him in the process, on which Brook recognizes them as a part of the German Kingdom, aka the royal family that once ruled the North Blue, aka this is Sanji's family, by the way. But this is when they're just like, fuck it, returning back to their ship and forgetting that this encounter ever happened, in hopes of Sanji's wedding going smoothly. Also revealing that Sanji's bounty has been adjusted from dead or alive to only alive by his father. I mean, of course, all for this wedding. And so moving forward, we now get Luffy's group arriving at Kakao Island, one of the islands surrounding Big Mom's main territory, Totoro Land, where they just happen to bump into Sanji's fiance, Pudding. And upon finding out that they're here to rescue Sanji from the wedding, she's surprisingly more than happy to assist them in their mission, giving them a map to navigate around. On which Luffy's squad then heads back to the Sunny, where they soon discover that Peckhams has gone missing, which has Luffy over here like, well, whatever, we gotta get Sanji back. Proceeding forward, while we now cut over to Peckhams over here, getting punished by Beige for his previous actions, and just dropping him into a body of water filled with sharks, and who knows if he'll make it out of this alive. Which, moving forward, now cutting back over to Luffy's squad, getting their ship stuck in some syrup. This is when Pager just goes on, revealing his backstory with Peckhams on how they were once sailors searching for the poneglyphs. However, things fell short upon making their way to Big Mom's territory and getting their ass cheeks drilled. On which, after finishing his story, Pedro then tells the Straw Hats that since Inarashi and Nekomamushi have high respects for them, he's decided that he'll go on ahead to yoink Big Mom's road poneglyph as they go on ahead to recover Sanji. And so moving forward to the following morning, with them arriving at Whole Cake Island, we got Pedro and Brook breaking off into one group to target the road poneglyph, while the rest go on ahead to search for Sanji. And oh hey, that was quick. And why is bro running? And so with chasing Sanji all the way through this one forest made up of sweets, which I mean it kind of makes sense given
Whole
that this
Cake
island is named Whole Cake. We got Luffy bumping into a mirror
cool.
clone of himself, and with taking it on, the others continue their pursuit of Sanji. And rats, it seems they lose him, which it seems Nami, Chopper, and Carrot they end up getting chased by everything in this woods called the Seducing Woods, having their priorities now set on returning back to the shore. On which oh hey, they reunite with Luffy once again. However, I don't think that's Luffy, and apparently it's just an imposter who happens to be Big Mom's 8th daughter, Broly. And I mean, Big Mom really stays true to her name, just out here squirting children left and right.
There's some really interesting devil fruits on Whole Cake Island as well, isn't there? Like some of these people have some really interesting ones.
Her having a total of 43 husbands, 39 daughters, and 46 sons, building a grand army of blood-related individuals. But anyways, now cutting over to the actual Luffy, experiencing these clones of his crewmates, he manages to collect all of them, like Pokemon, finding the real Nami in the bunch, where she then goes on to explain to Luffy what happened to her group, which pretty much how things went, is that Broly absorbed both Carrot and Chopper into her mirror world, using her mirror fruit. Who would have expected that? Having Nami over here, the last one standing,
Shocking.
simply clapping Broly with a cheeky little Kaminari, forcing her ass into the mirror world, and just having her chase Chopper and Carrot around for the time being. On which, after explaining this to Luffy, this is when they manage to encounter this one large buried man named Pound, who happens to be one of Big Mom's ex-husbands, revealing to them that all of the wildlife here are called homies, and are alive due to Big Mom's Soul Devil Fruit abilities, allowing her to extract human lifespans from people and insert them into inanimate objects. Followed up with then begging that he can see his daughters, Chiffon and Lola, one last time. On which Nami then realizes, oh wait, isn't Lola that one girl that gave me Big Mom's V-Ray
But all the way back in Thriller Bark, mate, that was so sick.
card way back when on Thriller Bark, and it apparently has the ability to control the homies with its almighty essence. But however, this is when Big Mom's 10th son, Cracker, comes in to just cause problems and was ordered by Big Mom herself to exterminate the Straw Hats here and pulling Pound out of the hole, cause why not? And of course, with him making an appearance, this is when we got Luffy taking him on in a 1v1, having him go all out, going try hard with that Gear 4th and exhausting himself. Well, what now?
Again.
Oh wait, we got Nami stepping in, doing a thing to allow our main character to recover. And would you look at that, he manages to get back up, entering Gear 4th once more, and sucking Cracker into his uterus before sending him flying across the world, using Newton's laws of motion, just having him crash straight into Sweet City, where his siblings discover his body, putting the whole place on high alert. Meanwhile, cutting over to Sanji's POV, with him and Caesar now in the German Kingdom's custody, as they are entering Big Mom's territory, we got Sanji just having a nice family dinner, where Niji decides to disrespect the two things he loves, Woman and the Tabamono, which has him just fuming over here, on which he then proceeds to take it a step further, beating up this one chef to truly press him. However, with Sanji's brothers threatening to destroy the variety, along with Zeph, he's in like, shit, I guess I'll take the L here. Taking a severe beating and deciding it's time to go over his backstory, going over his childhood at the German Kingdom with his father Judge, giving all his siblings superhuman abilities through scientific modifications. However, Sanji seems to be a defect out of all of them, possessing no superhuman abilities and falling heavily behind his siblings, which got his ass bullied, with Judge ignoring it like the great father that he is.
What a dad.
Forward, Sanji not being able to keep up and perform at the level of his siblings, Judge then ends up faking Sanji's death, locking him up in this dungeon to erase his existence. Where Sanji then thinks about how even more tragic his backstory is, getting this flashback in a flashback with him cooking some banger meals for his mother at the hospital. And with her passing away, Sanji then continues his passion for cooking in honor of her, which now cutting back over to the cell once again. We got his siblings dropping by to just do a little trolling, a little bullying before heading off, on which his sister Reiju frees him because she's not like the others and somehow still managed to retain some of her emotions despite being mechanically engineered, and leads him all the way to this orbit cruise ship to allow Sanji to be freed at last from the chains of the German kingdom. And in the process of escaping, Sanji ended up bumping into his father, on which he's like, you know what, fuck it, just go. Just
I don't care.
You're related to me. And so now cutting back to the present, we got the Vinsmoke family heading out to meet up with Big Mom at her castle in preparation of her tea party prior to the highly anticipated wedding. And we just got Sanji out here thinking about life and how he's at the point of no return. However, with Luffy and Nami now heading out of the seducing woods, with the help of the homie King Bone, they spot Sanji's carriage, confronting him to come back.
No, not this moment, Sanji, don't do it.
However, it seems Sanji is staying true to his decision, Sparta kicking the fuck out of Luffy and solidifying himself as royalty and levels above these peasants that are, straw hats. Which has Luffy going like, yo, this is a prank, right? But Sanji doubles down, going full force against Luffy, using his ult and knocking him out, casually walking off to his carriage afterwards. On which Nami's like, bitch slapping the fuck out of him for his jackassery. And oh wow, it seems he doesn't retaliate whatsoever. Continue.
Yeah, that's difficult. Sanji has some really freaking character developing moments, man. Like, you think he's just after the ladies and, you know, that man, but he's really a bro. He is a bro.
Moving towards his carriage and moving forward towards the wedding, where we soon then get Luffy getting right back up, calling Sanji's bluff and telling him that he'll stay here and eat nothing until he returns, stating that he'll never be able to become the king of pirates without him. And man, who cut the onions? But yeah, moving forward, with finding out that Cracker has taken an L against Luffy, here's when Big Mom sends out her troops to take care of him. And with them approaching him and Nami, he's then like, I said what I said. I ain't moving, bitch. Just having a casual 2v100,000. And oh god, it seems to get overwhelmed and detained. How very unfortunate. And in the process of all this, he ends up getting trapped in this one book prison alongside Nami with no hope of escaping. Won't you then cut over to Sanji once again, proceeding with the good old wedding plan, having a nice meal with Big Mom and Pudding, with food that's still fucking breathing. What the fuck? And with Pudding passing a note to him to talk with her in private, Sanji's like, oh god. Upon meeting up with her in her room, Sanji then goes on discussing how this marriage is in his best interest to keep his man Zeph safe, also revealing the explosive cuffs on him, which will detonate if he leaves the island. With being touched by Sanji's life story, Pudding then without hesitation willingly goes through with the wedding as well, with Sanji like, oh my god, you really are my waifu after all. And so moving forward, we now got Pudding visiting Luffy and Nami's cell, apologizing for failing to bring Sanji to them as they previously agreed upon, but then pulls a full 180 no-scope on them and revealing Big Mom's grand scheme to assassinate the entirety of the Vinsmoke family, which is quite the crazy turn of events. And it seems Sanji manages to learn about this plan as well, with Pudding out here with a fat-ass mouth yapping the whole plan to Reiju upon capturing her for a short time before erasing this whole entire conversation from her System 32 using her Memo Devil Fruit ability. And this just has Sanji over here devastated and heartbroken that his wife just doesn't truly love him. Don't worry, Sanji. You're not alone. And so moving forward once more.
The Tokyo Ghoul song. Is it Unravel? Yeah, it's Unravel, isn't it? Yeah.
With Luffy and Nami in this one cell, here's when Jinbei pulls up, making his appearance and coming in clutch, freeing the both of them with some high IQ plays. And Lord have mercy! Whatever you do, do not go to this timestamp. Trust me, it's dangerous. But yeah, with finding out about Big Mom's plan to exterminate the Vinsmoke family, we got Luffy rushing back to the location on which he told Sanji he'll never move from, leaving Nami in Jinbei's care. And after fighting through a couple of guards to get to it, he manages to meet up with Sanji, now on the same page as him, to stop Big Mom and her plan. And just out here reconciling with one another, just bringing tears to my eyes, where they soon after get a call from the other Straw Hats in the Mirror World via Mirror Shard, upon getting Broly in their custody, and now devise a whole ass plan to crash Big Mom's tea party. This is when Jinbei brings up some random beige lore, revealing his deep secret intention to assassinate Big Mom at the tea party, and proposes that they form an alliance with him and his crew. And oh yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that Brook and Pedro managed to successfully accomplish their objective in transcribing Big Mom's road poneglyph, along with 2 other poneglyphs in her possession, which was definitely a breeze for them, and they had no trouble getting it whatsoever. Definitely did skim over a lot of those episodes. But anyways, with everyone agreeing to go through with Jinbei's plan, they then all decide to just get absolutely dripped out. And bro, where's your hat, man? Oh my god. But here's when the Straw Hats and their allies meet up with the Pirating Pirates at their hideout for a nice little business meeting, where we find out that Caesar is still being the little bitch that he is, and is under the Fire Tank Pirates' control, with Beige possessing his heart. And so with going over the plan, Beige then explains how Big Mom values this one photo of her foster mother, Kara.
Caesar just constantly is just like, oh fine, I'll follow you now because I have to, I'll follow you now. I think it's just after this arc, isn't it? That, yeah, it's after Whole Cake he finally, like, is able to just escape and be like, I'm free now to do my own think, or is he? I can't remember.
As there was this one incident where the photograph was knocked off the table during one of her tea parties, causing her to lose her shit and letting out this screech that honestly is just music to my ears, and in the process emitting this strong hockey, knocking everyone out. And in the midst of this event, she ended up scraping her knee upon falling, which is a very rare sight to see, as her skin is very well known to being like armor. And with that said, what Beige intends to do is to exploit that weakness, taking it a step forward and not just dropping the photo, but destroying it, which will surely do the trick in lowering her guard. And with doing that, let's just top it off by shooting some deadly poisonous gas at her, produced by the man himself, Caesar. Which, I mean, this mission seems simple enough, and things should go smoothly.
No problems
For
whatsoever.
sure. And it seems like he's 100% on board, with him actually being the one to do the honors and crushing Caramel's photo. And so with settling with this plan, we then have them come up with an escape plan, which is to use Bruley and her Devil Fruit's mirror world. And with that, the business meeting concludes, with Sanji returning back to the castle to prep for the wedding, preparing for his big day. And oh wow, it's here! With Beige and his crew posted up as security, and with the Vinsmoke family arriving, even though they're considered as VIPs, they get their shit confiscated, getting their weapons and raid suits taken away on Big Mom's orders. And so yeah, with that, here's when the tea party starts, with the portrait of Caramel being presented, along with a multitude of presents, with the Tama Tobacco box from Fishman Island being one of them. But surely it won't end up detonating, right? And yeah, with going through with all of this, we now got the wedding commencing, with Sanji and Pudding making their grand appearance, arriving on a high-effort wedding cake with an altar on top of it, where they exchange vows. And how the fuck is everyone supposed to hear from down here? But with Sanji prompted to kiss the bride, this is when Big Mom's second son, Katakuri, reveals his ability to foresee the future. I mean, like, a few seconds at a time. And this is where he ends up seeing Pudding dropping down on her knees, rather than killing Sanji, which has him like, wait, what the fuck? This was not part of the script. And so with Sanji lifting her veil, this is when she then reveals her third eye to him, which upon seeing it, Sanji then stares into it like, holy shit! It's beautiful. Catching Pudding off guard because everyone in her past bullied her for it, and it seems Big Mom's plan ends up failing here, with Pudding not pulling through with her end of the bargain, which was to exterminate Sanji. And so here's when Katakuri takes matters into his own hands and tries to assassinate Sanji, however accidentally friendly fires, killing the priest. How quite tragic. And this is when Luffy and his clones begin the raid on the wedding, popping out of the wedding cake, with the real Luffy heading directly towards the photo. However, unfortunately for him, Katakuri steps in, cutting him off, but no worries, because we got Brook stepping in to do the trick, shattering that portrait, which has Big Mom over here shook, but apparently not in the way they planned. And with all of this happening, this is when Big Mom's eldest son, Paris Peros, pulls up, trapping all the Vinsmokes and his devil fruit juices, just splurging all over them, getting them all stuck in his dried up cum, as he's still abiding to Big Mom's
This plan goes all over the place now, doesn't it? It's crazy.
original plan. And with Big Mom over here not reacting the way they expected, Brook then proposes that Luffy brings the portrait directly to Big Mom's face to really make it sink in that this bitch is destroyed. On which, heading out to do so, he successfully delivers it to her, having Big Mom snap right back to reality and making everyone deaf within a 100-kilometer radius. And with Luffy's squad coming in prepared, they got these very clutch earplugs, negating the ear rape, and Sanji over here taking the opportunity to save his family, standing on the table like, yo, y'all bitches really out here calling me a failure, huh? And so with Big Mom now in this vulnerable state, here's when the fire tank pirates pull through with their assassination attempt, bringing out the toxic gas. But oh wait, before we get into all of that, let's just get hit up with this backstory here, with 5-year-old Big Mom, or I mean, she's not Big Mom anymore, I mean, Lin Lin, getting
Little
abandoned
Mom
by her parents on this one island called Elbaf. And the method of doing this is by simply baiting her with a bag of candy. Of course that would work. And with being abandoned, she then meets up with her foster mother Caramel, who's holding an orphanage here, taking her in. However, after some very wholesome moments, we then learn that she's working under the organization set for Pole as a member, negotiating deals with them and agreeing to sell Lin Lin to the world government, but she's just out here looking for that bag, and I mean, something tells me she's a very sinister orphan trafficker. And so moving forward, as we got everyone celebrating Lin Lin's 6th birthday, we got her just absolutely devouring this mountain of Simla, on which, wait, where did everyone go? Well, I guess Lin Lin consumed all the Simla along with everyone on this island, and it seems she's the last one remaining here, having Lin Lin just absolutely distraught with the disappearance of Caramel, where we soon have to have this one dude named Strarzan taking advantage of this whole situation, using his cook devil fruit ability to cook, surprisingly enough, and tame the gluttonous beast Lin Lin, forming the Big Mom Pirates, becoming the co-founder as a result. And it's soon later revealed that Lin Lin somehow inherited Caramel's devil fruit ability, the Soul Fruit, which really stirs up if the One Piece verse and the Attack on Titan verse are intertwined. And with Lin Lin in this flashback just quickly making an enemy out of the world government, building quite a hefty bounty in the process, we then now cut back to the present, on which we then got the fire tank pirates firing their deadly poison at her. However, the shockwaves of Big Mom screaming destroys the rockets midair, and I guess the mission was a failure. How very unfortunate. And with that said, we then get the fire tank pirates attempting to retreat, with Caesar coming in clutch with the escape mirror. However, it seems Big Mom's scream was strong enough to even shatter their only hopes of escaping, leaving the Big Mom pirates closing in on the Straw Hats and their alliance. However, it seems most of them managed to retreat back to Beiji's homemade fortress in his goddamn tummy as the Vince Smoke family takes on Big Mom's forces before retreating as well. And with everyone just taking shelter in Beiji's fortress, here's when Beiji then comes up with a new escape plan, revealing that he has plans on returning back to his team in form and have Caesar fly him out of the venue, on which we then got Judge irrelevantly questioning Sanji about why he saved his family, on which he then responds telling him that he did it in honor of Zeph, telling him to fuck off after this. On which we then got Judge promising to never interfere with Sanji's life ever again after this, and coming to the decision to assist him and his crew out of the Tea Party. And so with Beige deactivating his transformation, we got the Vince Smokes heading out into combat with Big Mom as Caesar goes on ahead and carries everyone out of the venue, where, oh god, it seems Reiju is getting overwhelmed here, leading Luffy and Sanji hopping in, and Luffy coming face to face with Big Mom herself in this one epic battle, on which we then have him entering Gear 4th once again, and it wears off, leaving him as a potato. And just as things are looking dire over here with the Big Mom on their caboose, here's when the Tama Tobacco box tumbles over, exploding at the surface level of the castle, having this whole tower tumbling down along with its people. And honestly, I think Big Mom is the one who really looks to go
crazy, so
and
crazy.
yeah, with that, it seems Luffy and his alliance are all now safe, with the Vince Spokes now deciding to part ways, and with the Straw Hats alliance making it out of this alive. Here's when Beige returns Caesar's heart to him. The mission was a disaster, but here you go, ending the alliance between him and the Straw Hats before making a rather fancy exit, because he's just that guy. And with that, the Straw Hats then decides to head back to the Sunny, with Brook and Chopper grouping up to retreat the submarine that Brook and Pedro initially took to get onto this island, leaving poor old Caesar over here all alone.
What about the Katakuri fight?
Alone in the end, because he's just got no homies, unfortunately. But I guess fuck this guy. And moving forward, with Big Mom falling off the castle, she then gets an incredible sudden craving for some wedding cake, throwing in an explosive temper tantrum, which literally causes the destruction of the city, leading the Big Mom pirates splitting up to find and exterminate the Straw Hats, Fire Tank Pirates, and the Vince Smoke family. Where we soon got Paris Pero feeding these little tiny fibs to Big Mom that the Straw Hats have stolen their spare wedding cake, leading her to just go like, yo, I'ma eat their asses. Hold up. On which we then got Pudding arriving at the scene, telling her her plan to satisfy Big Mom's cravings and bake a cake that will satisfy her needs. And so cutting over to Luffy's squad, going through seducing woods, heading back to the Sunny, this is when they end up getting tailed by Big Mom and her troops. On which in the process of everything, this is when Nami manages to tame one of Big Mom's homies, Zeus, getting the loyalty of him through feeding him some thunderclouds, because he's just a fucking fat ass. And in the process of utilizing his firepower, she manages to hold off Big Mom here just a little bit, where we then have Pudding and Beige's wife Chiffon arriving with a plan to pick up Sanji to assist him in baking the cake at Kakua Island to satisfy this big old bitch's cravings and have her stop rampaging. Which Sanji's like, alright, heading off with the both of them because he knows damn well that's a piece of cake to bake a pretty cake. What am I doing? Well, anyways, something tells me that Pudding likes Sanji now. I just can't put my finger on it. Once we then cut over to Chopper and Brook, now returning to the Sunny upon retrieving the submarine, where they soon find themselves encountering the Big Mom pirates, Paris Pero, and Katakuri posted up there, utilizing Broly's Mirror Fruit to fast travel. And oh god, it seems they end up getting rolled here. However, just as this happens, in shonen fashion, we got Luffy's group arriving at the coast, still being pursued by Big Mom, and with boarding the ship, here's when Paris Peros decides to do a little trolling and uses his pink dried up cum to hold the Sunny in place, preventing it from
I wish you would stop saying that.
setting sail. And oh my god, it seems more Big Mom's reinforcements are coming in. And this is when Pedro says, yo, I got this. Deciding that he'll be the one to stay on land, solo Paris Pero, as Luffy over here does the honors and taking on the big daddy threat, Katakuri, on the Sunny. And so with Pedro taking on Paris Pero, it seems Pedro just gets absolutely dominated here. How very unfortunate. Having him like, you know what, let's just go over my backstory, which goes over his history with him and his hero Goldie Roger, and afterwards he's then like, you know what, fuck it, pulling out some TNT strapped onto him, revealing that he only had a few years to live following his previously failed raid, with Big Mom punishing him by stripping away 50 years off his lifespan. And I mean, that's only just a few years, man. And so with being an absolute team player here, he then detonates the TNT with some flint and steel, setting off this massive explosion in hopes of taking out Paris Pero with him, with all of his Nakama going like, what are you doing, bro? And so yeah, with this rather large explosion going off, the shockwaves from it manages to set the Sunny free, and it seems Brook and Chopper are freed as well from Paris Pero's sticky substance. And it was all thanks to Pedro's very noble sacrifice, which is certainly something that will not go in vain.
No.
Shit. Well, anyways, now cutting back to the Sunny, it seems these Straw Hats still have some trouble to deal with Big Mom, Paris Pero, and her entire family after them, as well as Katakuri, who is just chilling on their ship. And with being angered with Pedro's sacrifice, just absolutely livid, Kari then goes on ahead and takes on Katakuri, leading her to getting absolutely rolled here, surprisingly enough, which leaves Luffy taking on Katakuri once more, and for complete isolation, grabbing his tits and dragging him to the mirror world, upon noticing Broly appearing in the mirror behind him. And it seems we get the stage where the true 1v1 takes place, with Luffy smashing the mirror behind him, giving no passageway back to the ship. And so we got this fight continuing on, and as it progresses, Luffy seemingly gets his ass handed to him, with Katakuri's ability to read him like a book, due to him capable of foreseeing the future a few seconds ahead.
Observation hacky?
In which, in the process of all of this is when Luffy contacts his crewmates via Mirror Shard to destroy any remaining mirror on the Sunny to prevent any mishaps, communicating afterwards to reunite at Kakao Island at 1 a.m., which with him telling them that Luffy is then like, yeah, I'll be there in a sec, this fight's too free. And with Broly overhearing this conversation, she then relays it back to her crew, sending the message directly to Pero's Pero. And so moving forward, with the fight progressing, it seems nothing has changed, as Luffy is still getting that ass beat and penetrated, unable to do a single bit of damage. But over time, after Katsukuri's big ass mouth reveal, Luffy manages to land a solid hit on him and is like, oh hey, I can actually beat this guy, giving him some work with the Gear Fourth. However, it wears off shortly after, having his ass make a run for it.
It doesn't last very long,
and
like
after managing to escape and hide for a bit, Luffy recovers his haki, pulling up once again for a nice round 2. Meanwhile, cutting back over to everyone on the Sunny, still being pursued and now sandwiched by the Big Mom pirates. Here's when Kara decides to pop off a little, staring off into the full moon on some werewolf shit, activating her Sulong transformation, which buffs her physical capabilities quite a bit, giving her the ability to absolutely just solo the fleet of Big Mom pirates on her own. And hear me out, I'm not a furry, but yeah, with Carrot clearing the fleet in front of them, this allowed the Sunny to proceed forward without any resistance, only really needing to worry about Big Mom herself and her fleet behind. And oh god, it seems Big Mom is getting real hungry for that cake now, which speaking of which, we then cut over to Sanji's group over here at Kakao Island, baking that shit, and it seems they are now in the final stages of wrapping it up, deciding to head out with it partially unfinished, but they plan to complete it as they sail out towards Big Mom. However, in the process of transferring it from point A to point B, they then end up having Oven of the Big Mom pirates boarding their cart and taking over. And just as this happens, here's when Beige arrives at the island, hearing on the speakers that Oven's got his wife, which has him going like, oh hell nah, sniping Oven with pristine accuracy, knocking him off the cart. And afterwards, we got Sanji launching the whole cart with the cake and everyone on it onto his ship, reuniting Chiffon with her husband and her son Pez, on which we then got Pound over here waving them off, congratulating them on their marriage due to him probably missing it being stuck in that fucking hole. And afterwards, it seems we now got them successfully heading off to deliver the cake, with Sanji over here doing the finishing touches, topping off the cake in time as they close in on the Sunny. And of course, with seeing the cake, Big Mom of course gravitates towards it with that sweet scent of obesity, as Pudding over here helps Sanji get back over to the Sunny, with Sanji informing everyone that the Big Mom pirates are well aware of the rendezvous point, Kakao Island. And it seems he was right, as we got the whole goddamn family just camping over here near this one mirror. And so with everyone on the Sunny now making their way towards Kakao Island, we now cut back over to Luffy over here in this very intense 1v1 with Katsukuri's little sister on the sideline, who is truly her Onichan's #1 fan, interfering with this fight by shooting a cheeky little tranquilizer dart at Luffy, immobilizing him, causing Katsukuri to land some significant damage on him, which upon finding out that this was her doing, he then displays some integrity, inflicting damage upon himself so that they're now on equal footing. And afterwards, we then got them continuing where they left off, where Luffy by some miracle manages to imitate Katsukuri's ability to foresee the future, anticipating his attacks with the use of observation haki, and gradually leveling up the skill as the fight progresses. However, there then comes a point where he then says, alright, let's just wrap this up, entering Gear Fourth once again, using his Snake Man variation of it. And oh my god, it seems we got nothing but intense and insane action here between the two of them, all coming down to one final clash. And oh shit, seems the main character is down, with Katsukuri the last one standing. But just kidding, because in silly shonen fashion, he collapses as well shortly after, leaving Luffy the one who's actually the last one standing, with him somehow recovering within 5 seconds, and now goes on a search for Broly so he can finally escape this place. However, this is when he encounters Peckham's, who actually managed to capture her, telling Luffy in honor of his Mink brother's sacrifice, aka Pedro, he's willing to assist him and his fellow Straw Hats on their escape mission. And so with the time closing in on 1 a.m., Peckham's then books it over to this mirror, which leads to Kakao Island, and upon arriving here, we got all of Big Mom's forces surrounding him, on which he's like, you know what, let me just look into the moon real quick. And oh, it seems he unlocks his Bankai, aka his Sulong transformation, to distract the Big Mom pirates, as Luffy over here takes this opportunity to escape. And man, just look at this absolute legend taking one for the team. But yeah, with Sanji posted up at the scene to pick Luffy up and deliver him to the Sunny, here's when also the Vince Smokes pull up to assist Sanji and getting Luffy back to his crew, and just out here pulling out some astounding coordinating attacks against Big Mom's men, having Sanji and Luffy freely getting back to the Sunny without having to break a sweat. Or I'm actually kind of lying about that, they actually struggled quite a bit. But yeah, with all these strats now reunited on the ship, it seems all that's left is the enemy fleet of ships. However, this is when the German Kingdom comes in clutch once more, taking on the Big Mom fleet to allow the Strats to go through. And oh wow, the Strats are finally free and able to escape, and oh god, there are more ships ahead! What are we ever gonna do? Oh wait, never mind. It seems we got the Sun Pirates arriving to save the day, here to assist and say their goodbyes to their former captain Jinbei, as they now give him and the Strats a nice little opening to escape. But with seeing his boys out here struggling against the forces, here's when Jinbei goes like, yo, Captain, you might if I hop in there to help? On which Luffy is like, man,
Yes.
I don't care, just get your ass to
Hell
Wano
yes,
afterwards.
Jimber.
Allowing Jinbei to head towards his pals to take on the Big Mom pirates, as the Straw Hats now make a nice and leisurely escape from Tota Land. And oh yeah, I guess the big plot point is that Big Mom actually enjoyed Sanji's wedding cake and is quite satisfied with it, having her just bust out of sheer euphoria. But anyways, moving forward, following the raid on Whole Cake Island, the news about the Straw Hats invasion on there spreads like wildfire, with Luffy being considered the 5th Emperor of the Sea, upon acquiring a whopping bounty of 1.5 billion berries. And I guess it's worth mentioning that Sanji's bounty over here has been risen to 330 million berries following this whole thing, and it seems we're now all making our way towards the Wano country, with Numbers still over here managed to have possession of Big Mom's homie cloud Zeus, as I guess he's a simp for her. And we also got Sanji over here, who discovers that a raid suit canister has been snuck into his inventory by Niji. However, is entirely opposed to using it due to him not wanting any part of his family. And yeah, with that, we then cover
the
next arc,
reverie.
the Levelly arc, where we have the Levelly, surprisingly enough, which is the council
reverie.
formed by the world government, which consists of 50 of the world leaders out of the 170 nations affiliated with the world government, which occurs every 4 years. And I definitely didn't read this directly from Google. And of course, here we get some very familiar faces that we met along the way on this very long journey, and I mean very long. Like, I'm talking about a lot, 7 years out of my lifespan working on this shit. But anyways, during this Levelly arc, we then get to see this one dude entering this one chamber, on which has this very large straw hat, and who knows if the scene serves any importance to the story. But with now cutting over to Big Mom over here, we then have her contacting Kaido through Skype, informing him that she's heading towards the Wano Kingdom to take Luffy's head. And with doing so, they then end up negotiating an alliance with having common interests. And so moving forward, with reading the newspapers about what's going on at Levelly, we also got them getting to see their friends that they met along the way. Just, oh my god, so many familiar faces.
Yeah, it's so cool to
Just,
see them all.
just brings tears to my eyes, man. And oh dear, it seems we are now facing some very wacky waters around the Wano country, bringing them to the bottom of this one waterfall. And with seeing some of these fish defying the laws of physics heading up it, this is when Luffy utilizes them to climb up it, which was a rather smooth ride for all of them. And oh hey, it seems they managed to make it to the top, where they then encounter this one whirlpool, sucking them all in with his fat ass pussy lips. And oh shit, it seems all our main characters are done with here, with all of them seemingly getting drowned to death. But just kidding, because we then got Luffy getting washed up here along the shores of the land of Wano, while the rest of his crewmates managed to go undercover, working under a very certified occupation of the Edo period. And yeah, with all of them doing that, wait, what the fuck? Where did the rest of the script go? Oh, apparently the Wano arc was still airing at the time I was scripting this, so what a shame. I guess if you'd like to see a part 3, you may have to drop a like. My bad.
Hell yeah. That was boss. That was really cool. Sunmo was so funny. Like the way he describes stuff. I like how like he doesn't go. There are little important bits, but that's not the point, is it? It's meant to be like a funny approach at recapping what happens in One Piece. And that was really cool because there were moments that I forgot about. So yeah, love that. I like how he did. I remembered as well while watching that like years ago. Like I don't know how many years ago. Not too many, but like he did a One Piece in 1 minute. And I watched that before getting into One Piece, and I just thought it was really funny. That was like a stupid little video, and then he went, yeah, let's actually do it. So, yeah, did I? Yeah, I'm sure I did the One Piece in 140. Looking at it, it's 2 hours and 20. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, I want to be able to watch patron-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series. Link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for that. And if you want to see my videos early, click that join button. Become a member. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.